Okay, my dudes, let's get this party started. Y'all know exactly what we're doing here. Already got a subscriber coming out. Thank you for joining the flock. And yeah, we are going to be going through and we are going to be getting some real money fantasy football drafts coming in. And we do this every single night. If you want to come out to these live streams, you want to get in a draft with me, all you have to make sure is you're going down there, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that bell next to the subscribe button. Now, I'm going to be very happy to go through and get this first draft set up. We're going to do this how we do it every single live stream. Where let me pull up the live chat right now. We'll send out the link over there on Patreon for everybody to come and get in this first draft. And yeah, it's going to be exciting. This is going to be hopefully a stream where we get another $250 draft going. We got one yesterday. Maybe we get another today. We'll see how many people come out. So make sure you're dropping a like on the live stream as well. We'll send that first link out over on Patreon. I am sure that we'll get people coming in right away and we will get this thing going. And yeah, y'all don't need me to tell you, but we are going to say it anyway, because I'm sure that a million of y'all have already heard, and here we are filling this draft. But guys, I will let you know, the quicker that we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, the quicker y'all do not have to hear this information anymore. But now let's get the 101. I mean, we begin the 101, the 102, the 103 in like every draft. The 104, we're still at the top of the room. I'm completely fine with it. I'm not going to complain considering that we have just been going crazy with our draft picks as of late. I mean, we've just been getting the 101, the 102, the 103, the 104. Not bad whatsoever. So guys, let's go back to what we are doing right now on Underdog Fantasy. So if you are a regular to the live stream, if you are new to the live stream, well, you're about to hear what everybody has heard before. But when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK and you make a $10 deposit, this is where we live stream every single night. This is where you're going to be drafting with us if you want to come out. This is where I draft throughout the entire day, every single day, to be completely honest. I know you all see me in the public leagues. But anyway, when you make that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK, there's currently a glitch in the system where they add $25 to your account. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You get our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. You get our 2021 rankings, our 2021 tiers. All of those are going to be updated until the start of the season. And this is going to be available for a very long time. So even if you're watching this 3 weeks from now, I promise you, you have the potential to go out here and do this. And when we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, they're going to fly people to Tampa, Florida to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. They're going to pay for me to go to a Bucs game. So please, they're going to pay for you to go to a Bucs game as well. Let's get this mark. Let's get that Florida Flock meetup going. I'll also do a 24-hour live stream. So once we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, I promise you, the promo code ad reads, they are going to go from you hearing them every 5 minutes to like this. But please keep in mind, guys, that I'm trying the best I can to get to that 10,000 mark. And here we are going to be getting Davante Adams going in. Now, Davante Adams, you don't need me to tell you why I love Davante Adams. And I know a lot of people want Derrick Henry here, but with Derrick Henry, he simply, in my opinion, has a much lower floor than Davante Adams. And I think the ceiling, if you're actually going to be looking at their expected output for this upcoming year, is about in the same range. Now, I understand that Derrick Henry's playing at a position where the production's a little harder to come by, but you have to kind of take your risk and your rewards in here. And I think the reward for Derrick Henry putting up that production at the running back position does not outweigh the risk that we have, given the fact that he is the only running back going in the top 6 rounds besides Mike Davis. That's 27 and a half years old. I mean, he is extremely old for the running back position. I know people do not like bringing this up, but we know those cliffs come quicker at the running back position than they do anywhere else, really, in sports. I mean, it's crazy. Now, I'll say at the 107, I'm completely fine with Derrick Henry at the 107, but I think you need to be taking Kamara. I think you need to be taking also Davante Adams and Ezekiel Elliott all over Derrick Henry. Okay. So now let's go through, and I will send out a link for Underdog Fantasy in the live chat right now. It'll be in the description of the video. It will also be in the comment sections. And like I said, guys, when we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, which should be extremely easy to do, we get like 60,000 views every 48 hours. So we can all do this today. We can hit this 10,000 mark. We can get those goals, and we can get the ball rolling. You are going to hear these ad reads way less. So please make sure we go through and we get that going. And I will say this is going to be our warm-up draft. So a lot of people in the live chat right now are asking what the buy-in for this league is. So the first draft that we do every single stream is actually going to be a $10 league. And then after we get that $10 league completed, there we go through, then we'll throw in a 50, we'll throw in 100, we'll throw in a 250 possibly today, depending on how many people come out. We got a $250 draft going yesterday. Trust me, I'm really hoping that we get another 250 because, I mean, I think we botched the one yesterday. We auto-picked Adam Chapman, which of course just completely threw the entire team off. But hopefully we get another one going today. And now I will say, Jonathan Taylor, Calvin Ridley at this 1-2 turn. I love seeing Jonathan Taylor go there. I mean, JT, we have to remember this was someone actually going around the 104, I mean, not the 104. Usually it was like the 105, the 106 earlier this offseason. The fact that you're getting him fall to the 201 here, I mean, that is absolutely massive. Now we have Nick Chubb falling. So I have said this time and time again, but y'all know Nick Chubb's a running back that I have been saying you cannot draft in the first round. We've been saying that for a very long time. But I think when we get to the middle of the second, this is about the range where I'm going to start considering Nick Chubb. There are a couple other running backs that y'all know I definitely like, but Nick Chubb is a completely fine pick here. Yeah, to see him go to the same team that took Derrick Henry, while yes, I'm not a fan of either one of those running backs, we can acknowledge the fact that those are the two falling values in the draft. So let's see where Uncle Trey decides to go here. And I think that when he goes Joe Mixon, I'm not going to be willing to reach on a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. This looks like we're just going to have a very unique build and start this team off a little wide receiver heavy. Now, we have to keep in mind, this is a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers. It is best ball at the same time, so the receiver position is going to be bumped up in value just slightly. Also, getting an A.J. Brown. I really like taking A.J. Brown in the second because it does set us up to where if we have Ryan Tannehill in the 10th falling to us, we can go Tannehill. If we have a Aaron Rodgers falling to us in the 8th, we can go Rodgers. I mean, we have a couple different stack potentials that we can go with right now. And I actually got Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a public draft that I was doing earlier today on Underdog. I think that we actually got him at like the 305. I was going to say the 304, but I think we got him at the 305. I think given the injury, quote unquote, concerns, you have to bump him down just slightly. In our updated rankings, our version 5 of our rankings, we did move Clyde Edwards-Helaire down a little bit further. Now we're going to be back up on the clock. I think that we're most likely just going to go receiver again here. I mean, especially when we start Devontae Adams and A.J. Brown, it would be nice to kind of push the need for these teams to start taking receivers. The other player that we would consider would be a George Kittle. So let's see. Okay, so Allen Robinson goes. Okay, that sucks. I was expecting that we were going to see Terry McLaurin go from the receiver position. So I guess if Allen Robinson does instead, we're most likely just going to take a George Kittle in here. We're going to get an elite tight end. This is also going to set us up. If we wanted to take a Trey Lance in the 9th round, we can take Trey Lance in the 9th as well. So yeah, we have a team that's constructed in a way where, of course, we're going to need to find running back value later on, but I'm confident in our ability to do that at the beginning of the 5th round. We understand that there's going to be a wide receiver run as expected in rounds 3 and 4 in this kind of format. So I think just getting George Kittle here, getting that elite tight end where we're not going to have to reach on 3 tight ends in this draft. Hopefully we don't go and take someone else in that Dallas Goedert tier that we have been taking too much of so far this draft. But yeah, we're going to go with the George Kittle at the 304. Okay, so Foster is saying, are we going to get a $10 draft going next? We'll ask y'all in the live chat. So what I'm probably going to do is if we have, yesterday we had 800 people in the live stream. So thank you, everybody, going down there, dropping a like, leaving a comment, subscribing to the channel, just coming out to the live streams by the dozen. So make sure you drop a like on this live stream again. If we get that group of people out here where there's so many people in here, we'll probably get a $250 draft going, to be completely honest. I'm kind of hoping that we get that going just because we're getting closer to the season and I can't do multiple $250 drafts every night for obvious reasons, but I think that we can probably get a couple going a week. So I'd love to get another $250 draft going tonight. That would be fantastic. And then also, we will get at least 3 drafts going. So we'll get another $10 draft. We'll get at least one more $10 draft going after this one, and we'll get a high stakes draft in here. I wanted 250. Okay, so David Montgomery goes at the 312. In the $250 draft yesterday, we actually drafted at the 102, and we ended up getting David Montgomery at the 502. We had David Montgomery fall to us in the 5th round, which of course is absurd to get that kind of value on a David Montgomery. Okay, so DJ Moore at the 401. So Daddy Rabbit here, he also kind of punts the running back position with us so far. So there have been a couple teams that are going, okay, so he goes Josh Allen to get the stack in here with Stephon Diggs. Now I will say I hate this Josh Allen selection for a multitude of reasons. The main reasons is when you have the combination of Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, I think you set yourself up in a way where you can't afford to get either Josh Allen or Kyler Murray in the 5th. So I think reaching on the stack to, while yes, you do like seeing a team with Stephon Diggs have Josh Allen, to get that stack in there. I think you're more so taking the player near their ceiling, where I don't necessarily think there's going to be that much upside if you do have one of those players hitting. So I think that we would probably prefer either going with a DeAndre Swift or a Cooper Kupp, to be completely honest, at the 402. Either way you cut it, I'm not going to be taking Allen there, because even if you don't get Allen, say he goes in the middle of the 5th, I mean, you're still going to have the potential to get a Kyler Murray at the end of the 5th regardless. So the Josh Allen pick, I'm not a fan of at all. Now we are about to be back up on the clock really quick. And then I think that we are going to take someone that, for whatever reason, has consistently been falling. Now, can someone give me an explanation on why we have been seeing Julio Jones fall? Because I've not just been seeing him fall in these live streams as well. I've been seeing him fall in the public leagues, where Julio Jones was someone I was not taking that much when he was going at the beginning of the 4th round. But when we're getting him here after like Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Lockett are off the board, I mean, if you go and you check my 2021 rankings, we definitely love Julio Jones in this range. I know a lot of people want us to go with the running back, but I mean, y'all know Darrell Henderson has not been someone I've been drafting whatsoever. I don't think we're necessarily going to be reaching on him here. And also, when we take a Julio Jones, this is going to set us up again. If we really want to go and get a Ryan Tannehill in the 9th round, I mean, now we're going to actually have that double stack built in, and we know how that raises our ceiling with this team. So we're going to get Julio Jones. We're most likely going to be looking at running back coming back to us in the 5th round. Now, what sucks is a lot of times we would actually have been going with a Travis Etienne with this build in the 5th round. But now you have James Robinson at the 309. We're not even going to have an option out of Jacksonville Jaguars running back at the 504. So let me know what you are thinking of this start so far. I think that we really can't pass up any of the value that we have seen. I mean, maybe your one argument is, Mason, this is why you should take Ezekiel Elliott at the 104. And I think that there is a merit in that argument. And like I said, guys, so we did our 2021 rankings based on the format that has 1 starting quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex spots. And there I actually went Devontae Adams at the 103. And I've had a lot of questions for people getting our draft guide and getting our rankings and reading, because in our draft guide, we have exact instructions on how to be going through and constructing a team for your exact format. And I've had a lot of people reaching out to me going, Mason, I can only start 2 receivers and 1 flex. In that format, do I want to be taking Devontae Adams at the 103? And of course not, because in that format, you actually have to severely devalue the wide receiver position. And I don't necessarily know why you'd play in a league where you only have 1 flex spot and you can only start 2 receivers. Doesn't sound that fun to me. And there you want to be going with the running back. But in this league format where you can start up to 4 receivers, I think that honestly going with Julio Jones makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now we are probably going to, TJ Hawkinson goes to the 503. So we did have Josh Jacobs, I believe, ahead of Darrell Henderson in our rankings before the Sony Michel trade. And that's definitely that's definitely not going to change whatsoever. So I think we just go Josh Jacobs here. I know that we are reaching on him according to ADP, but we're more so looking for a running back that's going to get guaranteed touches. So we're technically reaching on Josh Jacobs a pick in his ADP. I know that Darrell Henderson is supposedly going a lot further than him. Personally, I've never been the guy to make that selection to go with the Darrell Henderson over Josh Jacobs. So we're going to take Josh Jacobs here at the 504. Really funny that they were drafted in the same draft class. Josh Jacobs was a high-end running back 2 and a low-end running back 1 through the first 2 years of his NFL career. I think Darrell Henderson has had 4 games over 10 fantasy points so far in his respective NFL career. Yet, for whatever reason, Darrell Henderson is ahead of him in ADP. We're just going to go Josh Jacobs at the 504, even though I've been someone that has been telling people that they are drastically overrating Josh Jacobs for years now. But at this point, I mean, I've talked about him enough. We don't need to talk about him anymore. And now you have Jerry Jeudy at the 506. Jerry Jeudy, definitely someone that's been rising up in these drafts with the announcement that Teddy Bridgewater is the starting quarterback. This is someone that used to actually go closer to the 5-6 turn. I mean, you rarely ever saw Jerry Jeudy go before Robbie Anderson. But I wonder if Robbie Anderson's falling in these drafts whatsoever, given the fact that, I mean, actually, that makes no sense whatsoever. I was going to say, given the fact that you had Terrace Marshall going through and impressing during training camp. But to be completely honest, I mean, I bet Robbie Anderson's looking great as well, given the fact that they give him that extension. So Jamar Chase now falls to the 5'10". Jamar Chase is going to be a player that y'all know I've been lower on compared to consensus. I have Jamar Chase in very few leagues. But if you're going to be able to get him at the 5'10", I think that is decent value. Mike Davis, someone I'm not too interested in. I think this is about the point where you really want to start looking at those elite quarterbacks. I mean, this is why I said earlier that Daddy Rabbit, I did not like this selection of a Josh Allen at the 402, because let's think about this. Would you prefer Josh Allen and Mike Davis, or would you prefer DeAndre Swift and Kyler Murray? Especially when you have the DeAndre Hopkins stack, so you're still getting the stack in there with the elite quarterback. I think that we definitely prefer getting a Kyler Murray in the 5th compared to a Josh Allen at the 402. So yeah, I think that was something I definitely would change, to be honest. And then Kyle Pitts goes to the 5-12, significantly higher than where significantly later than where I'm seeing Kyle Pitts go in most drafts. The majority of times you see actually Kyle Pitts go at the end of the 4th round, which I can't get behind. Robbie Anderson goes at the 601, Kareem Hunt at the 602. So Kareem Hunt would have been someone that in a public league may have actually fallen to us here, but obviously that's never happening. Lamar Jackson at the 604, Kyler Murray at the 603. This is fantastic value on each of these quarterbacks. Tyler Boyd rising in this draft. I wonder if it's anything to do with the current Jamar Chase situation. That is very intriguing. That's probably the earliest I've seen Tyler Boyd go in a very long time. Okay, Blake coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. I'll get to that in 1 second. Let me get this pick up and going real quick, where it looks like we're maybe taking someone that we have drafted time and time again. Okay, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Antonio Brown goes off the board at the 607. So Dak Prescott goes. So a big thing is, if we look at the teams behind us, I mean, they've loaded up on elite level running backs, and the majority of them already have 2 running backs as well. So I think that we're fine getting either Sermon, Gaskin, or Chase Edmonds with our next pick. So we're probably just going to end up going with a Kenny Golladay here as our 4th receiver. This could be a mistake that I am making, but I'm honestly kind of willing to take a gamble on the actual running back that we're getting to come back to us. Now, Laviska Shenault is someone that I think we need to continue to rise up our ranks. I have Laviska Shenault in almost every single draft that we were doing before this, just given the fact that we were able to take him so much later than he's currently going. So Laviska, I don't necessarily feel the need to add to my portfolio that much. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, with these teams that have Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, it's going to be really hard for them to just soak up the running backs here because they've already invested so much into the position. Or I'd imagine that the majority of the time, these are actually going to be more so wide receiver picks. And that's my big thought process on wanting to go with a Kenny Golladay there, because I think we can actually get either Chase Edmonds or Trey Sermon falling to us at the 706. We'll see. Maybe it doesn't work out. Obviously, we're on a live stream, so I'm sure that a lot of people would like to come out here and snipe us. But we just passed 100 likes in the live stream. Thank you, everybody, going down there and dropping that like. That helps us out so much, my dudes. Okay, so yeah, Shenault and Devontae Smith. Justin Herbert at the 702. Usually you don't see Justin Herbert until the end of the 7th round, so that is an intriguing selection. Usually the only time you see Justin Herbert go at the beginning of the 7th is whenever the team took both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. This team here just goes with Keenan Allen at the 302, so that is an intriguing pick. But let's go through and let's pull this up. And just like we thought, we are going to get one of these running backs coming back to us in either a Trey Sermon or a Chase Edmonds. So Chase Edmonds ends up going. So we're going to get Trey Sermon here, and he's going to be our running back 2 on this team. I actually really like how we have constructed this roster so far, where we are going to be elite at receiver, and all these guys are going to be in our starting lineup. Keep in mind, this is a league where you start 3 receivers and you have a flex spot. Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Kenny Golladay. And then at running back, we're going to have Josh Jacobs, Trey Sermon. At tight end, we're going to have an elite player in George Kittle. We can be looking at quarterbacks coming back to us, and probably about the 9th round is when we're going to begin to look at them. There are going to be some intriguing players that we could look at in the 10th as well at the quarterback position. That's a big reason why we went with the receivers that we did previously, because of the stacks that it sets up later on. Okay, but Blake comes out and says, grade my team, pick 9 of 10. Quarterback, Josh Allen. Running back 1, Aaron Jones. J.K. Dobbins. Wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson. Tight end, Austin Hooper. The flex is Deontay Johnson and Jerry Jeudy. So honestly, in a 10-team league, I don't want to say that's an extremely strong roster, because we go through, you have an elite quarterback in Josh Allen. You have a running back 1 in Aaron Jones. You probably have a mid running back 2 with J.K. Dobbins in a 10-man format. I actually guess when you have both Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson, that is going to be a nice squad. But something I talk about in our draft guide for 2021 is when you're playing in a shallower format, like if you're playing in a 10-man league instead of a 12-man league, or if you're playing in an 8-man league instead of a 12-man league, I mean, that's about the range where we think that we need to start drastically changing how we are going through and how we are evaluating those tight ends, where I actually think the tight end position there is going to matter a lot more, given the fact that they're making up a higher percentage of your starting lineup output. And we know just having those elite tight ends give you a significant edge. So everybody that's been asking me questions on Patreon where they are going with their pick in the first round, maybe it's in the middle or the second half of the first round, if they're playing in like an 8-man or a 10-man league, I mean, I'm saying Kelsey every single time. So in a 10-man format, don't love the idea of having Austin Hooper as your tight end 1. I mean, if you're playing in a 14-team league, then yeah, I'm completely fine going through and punting tight end and coming away with an Austin Hooper. Okay. So we have a wide receiver run happening. Raheem Mostert goes to the 7-12. I cannot see Mostert go in the same round as a Trey Sermon. And Noah comes out here and he snipes us on Aaron Rodgers. He takes him away from us. So let's recap Noah's draft so far. Noah's Girthquake, my dudes. So he goes Ridley, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson at the receiver position. At running back, he goes Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, and he takes Aaron Rodgers at the 801. So Rodgers would have been someone that we have actually been having a lot of success consistently stacking him at the end of the 8th round, but obviously we're no longer going to have that option. So I think we're not going to be looking at drafting a quarterback in the 8th round most likely. I mean, maybe we consider it in the 9th, mainly just depending on who falls to us. But I will go through and I want to repeat the fact that I think if you're drafting from the 101, I think if you're drafting from the 112, we've said this so many times before, but I really want to highlight it. It's almost impossible to call a player a reach when you're drafting at the very end. I mean, you could throw the 102, the 111 into this because these teams, I mean, if you're drafting at like the 802 here and say you want a Michael Gallup, of course, I mean, I honestly maybe want a Michael Gallup there. I probably do want Michael Gallup there, but just say, I mean, maybe he even decided to take someone like a Jarvis Landry. While in theory, I think that would be a reach over these receivers before him. He knows that with the Jarvis Landry, there's a 0% chance he makes it back to the end of the 9th. So, I mean, that's more so the thought process that you're having to make. You're having to go, okay, well, I'm not going to be up again for another 20 picks. I'm not going to be up again for another 20 picks. You kind of just have to go out there and get our guy. Okay, so now that we are going to be on the clock, so we have a George Kittle. We're not necessarily going to be looking at a need where we have to go out here and get a Logan Thomas, even though he is one of the last guys available. So if we were playing in a large field tournament where we were going to have the fantasy tournament after the season, I actually think that we go with the Michael Thomas. But here instead, I think we just continue to bring in some wide receiver value. And I know that a lot of people are going to go, check your buys, check your buys. I don't care about my buys at receiver, guys. It's receiver. We're going to have so many of these guys on the roster. It doesn't necessarily make too much sense to worry about that. I would rather just take the best players where, yes, we have 3 guys on a week 13 bye. We have 2 guys on a week 10. It is what it is, though. We're completely fine. Not worried about that in the slightest. Okay, Nick coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. I'll read that in 1 second after we get done with our next selection. So Ronald Jones, Logan Thomas goes here at the 812. I really like that value on Logan Thomas. The big thing is we really just can't consider taking him. Now, the question is, do we end up taking our first quarterback in the 9th round? It would be seen as a reach, but obviously getting Tannehill on a team where we take both Julio Jones and A.J. Brown would be very advantageous. Maybe we want to go with a running back instead, given the running backs that may be available to us after this tier of guys. And keep in mind, we only have a Josh Jacobs and a Trey Sermon at running back. We're extremely strong at receiver. We're elite at tight end. No quarterback or running back just yet. And if we were going to go with the quarterback, I guess we can actually go with the Trey Lance here as well. So Lance and Tannehill are going to be close. A big thing is when we don't have the fantasy football playoffs here, however, I think that Trey Lance is a little less appealing given the fact that we're more so looking for production right away at the beginning of the season. So, you know what? I think that we actually kind of have to go running back, just given the fact that we have punted the position for so long. And we're going to be able to find some quarterbacks at the end of the draft that if we miss out on some stacks, I know for a fact there's no way we get Trey Lance falling back to us. Y'all know how much I love Trey Lance. But I think given how we've constructed this team through the first 8 rounds, and the 9th, we're really kind of handicapped where we have to get a running back here and a Zach Moss before the tier break is about to occur. So we're going to go with a Zach Moss in the 904 to kind of cover our running back 2 spot until Trey Sermon does take over in San Francisco. And then, of course, from there, we will be smashing. Okay, but Nick, let's go out, read this donation. Says, question, I'm joining a redraft, a superflex league. Haven't done one of those in years. Is Mahomes or Christian McCaffrey the 101 in that format? Okay, so I'll say if you're joining a superflex redraft league, my dudes, I have a ton of experience in superflex. You know that I go through and, I mean, I literally just play in superflex leagues all offseason. I'm been playing in superflex leagues since 2014 for Dynasty Fantasy Football. Now, I will say when you're transitioning over to redraft superflex compared to Dynasty, you do have to understand that quarterbacks are going to be a little less valuable given the fact that something that makes them so valuable in Dynasty is the longevity of the position. And another thing that I really want to focus in on is actually going to be the starting lineup requirements for the rest of your roster, as well as how many teams are in your league. Because I actually just broke this down on Patreon earlier today where we were discussing a superflex roster that that was actually only playing in an 8-man league. And I was telling him, I was like, man, just some simple math here. And I know it sounds like the easiest thing ever, but I want to make sure everybody's thinking about it in this way. What makes quarterbacks so valuable in Superflex is the fact that, I mean, usually there's not enough of them to go around for every team to start 2 every week, because you go through, you do some quick math, you go, okay, if you're playing in a 12-man league, yes, every team can have 2 starting quarterbacks and some teams can have 3, but you're not going to be able to cover for buys. You're not going to be able to cover for injuries for those teams that only have 2. But all of a sudden, when you make that a 10-man league instead, every single team can have 3 quarterbacks and a couple teams can have 4. If you make that an 8-man league instead, every single team in the league can have 4 quarterbacks. So then quarterback is almost like all the other positions where there's no real demand to it because of a limited supply. So instead, I really want to focus in on the exact format that you're playing in. Just calling it Superflex is not nearly enough data to understand how you should be valuing quarterbacks. And that's why I was hesitant to go out there and put up Superflex rankings for the 2021 season, because there are so many different variables for so many different Superflex leagues that you have to be making those small adjustments. So if you're playing in a 14 or a 16 team league, there I am completely fine taking Mahomes at the 101. However, if you're playing in a 12, 10, or an 8-man league, there we're still going to go with Christian McCaffrey. Okay. So now let's pull this back up. So at the 10:09, I think that we are going to start to look back at the quarterback position. So all the teams after us have a QB. And I think that, honestly, there are a few running backs that I'd be fine making it back. So we do miss out on a stack, but I think that we're going to be fine missing out on a stack, just considering the fact that we're more so focused on just getting as much production onto this team as possible, not necessarily worrying about the tournament at the end. So here we're just going to get someone that we know has the passing volume. We're just going to bring in Matthew Stafford. I love this team so far. I think that we have killed this team. We're going to show the top of the drop board real quick for anybody just now coming into the live stream. And guys, if you were just now coming into the live stream, please, please, please make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream. It helps us out so much. Let's get this live stream popping. Let's get over, if we get over 700 people in here like we did yesterday, we'll try to get another $250 draft going. That would be extremely fun. I mean, you know the pressure's on. Hopefully we get the 101, the 102. I mean, we've been pulling some great picks in those drafts. Okay. So you have Gus Edwards at the 10-12. So a big thing that I was kind of considering there when we were trying to determine if we were going to take a Matthew Stafford is I really was not interested in getting a Justin Fields. And obviously the other position that we are going to need is actually going to be running back. We are so loaded at receiver and we are loaded at tight end that I'm not necessarily too concerned about those positions continuing to go off. But at running back, we really needed someone. And it looks like, I mean, these teams here are loading up. They're monopolizing the position where maybe we're not getting someone that we're excited about coming back to us. If you looked how low Kenyon Drake was according to ADP, I mean, it looked like Kenyon Drake was going to be almost a no-brainer pick here, but maybe instead we are going to have to go with another quarterback, and instead we're just going to take 2 quarterbacks in this range and be done with the position. So let's see where JDB Ridge, no idea how to say this name. He has Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chase Edmonds. So let's see if he goes with a Tony Pollard. So he goes Terrace Marshall. So here it's going to be down between Tony Pollard or a Joe Burrow for us. And when we're taking a Tony Pollard here, of course, we're not necessarily expecting someone that's going to be giving us production every single week unless we have an Ezekiel Elliott injury. And I think one problem that I have made previously in these drafts is going too aggressive in our stance of fading a single position through the draft. So here we are going to take Tony Pollard going, you know what? If you actually had an Ezekiel Elliott injury, nobody in the entire league is beating this team. So we're going to take Pollard at the beginning of the 11th round. I'm going to be fine with that value. And yeah, obviously, it's not a pick that you love. If Zeke manages to stay healthy the entire season, not going to consider taking Devin Singletary on the same team that I took Zach Moss, however. So I think Tony Pollard is actually going to be the no-brainer pick. If I wasn't going to go if I wasn't going to go Pollard, I probably would have actually gone with the Joe Burrow instead. Okay. So let's scroll down real quick so everybody can see. Bryan Edwards at the 11:06. Okay, at this point, I think if we're looking at our own roster, actually, I want to go through and I want to check out some other teams. Let's check out Raw real quick. Raw's been coming out to a ton of these drafts. Let's look at him at the 101 and see what he has decided to do so far. So here we went CMC, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, a very standard start that you find from the 101. I mean, this is almost cookie cutter with what you've seen in a million other drafts. Then getting to the 4-5 turn, this is where it gets a little more interesting. So here, if I was personally on the clock, I would have had a very difficult decision on where we are exactly going to go. And I honestly probably would have gone the exact same route with a Miles Sanders and an Adam Thielen. Obviously, you're kind of in no man's land with the receiver position at this point, and you really don't need to be taking on the Jamar Chase risk for a format like this because your floor matters just as your ceiling does. Shenault, Devontae Smith, really like these two picks here. I've been getting Logan Thomas, Jalen Hurts. He gets the Jalen Hurts selection to double stack with the Philadelphia Eagles offense and both Miles Sanders and Devontae Smith. So I really do like that. And then at running back brings in both Gus Edwards and Kenyon Drake. So he has 4 running backs so far, 2 of them including Christian McCaffrey. But it looks like we are maybe hitting the end of that running back tier here with a Devin Singletary as we go a decent amount of time until we actually have Leonard Fournette going off of the 1201. Now, this is really good Joe Burrow value. I mean, it's kind of funny to see how much Joe Burrow has actually fallen in these drafts. I think it's for a decent reason, given the fact that he has really no rushing mobility whatsoever. You're just essentially purely betting on the passing volume of the offense. And if you have concerns with Jamar Chase, I mean, that would directly affect a Joe Burrow. So Joe Burrow has fallen a decent amount. Now, I will say when we have George Kittle on the team, we're extremely excited to see these tight ends begin to go. I mean, to see Irv Smith, to see Jonnu Smith off the board, I mean, I think that's going to get us really excited, and that some teams that maybe haven't taken a tight end, at least haven't taken 2 tight ends that they feel confident about, they may have to go and they may have to reach on an Evan Ingram like we just see here. So we kind of want to see these tight ends going off. I think that we're probably going to wait until we get like a Zach Ertz at the very end of the draft. I don't necessarily think that we need to go out there and reach for anybody. Okay. So let's switch this back over. Okay, so the 1209, Lawrence is another player that's just been falling so much. It's kind of funny to see Lawrence fall as he has because it's mainly off of 2 preseason games. I will say that I think just Travis Etienne being out for the year is definitely going to have a negative impact on what we're expecting from Trevor Lawrence, just given the fact that Etienne would have been a dynamic player in the passing game. I am happy to see these receivers going like a Cobb, an Aguilar, a Sanders, a Rager. So Lawrence does go. I honestly really don't want to take a quarterback in this range. When we take Stafford, I'm going to have some flexibility to continue to pass. And keep in mind, I mean, we really punted running back here. I mean, our running backs we took in the 5th, 7th, I believe 9th and 11th. Yeah, we've been punting running back extremely hard. So I think we actually get someone that we know is going to have a role on his offense every single week. Yes, the upside's kind of limited, but maybe he provides us with some spike weeks. We're going to go with the Naheem Hines. I think Hines actually makes a lot of sense for this roster construction, and we only have 5 receivers, so we're definitely going to be wanting to bring in some more. We're probably going to want to bring in, I don't want to say 7 receivers to this team because I definitely would prefer having more than 7, but when we go Adams, AJ Brown, Julio Jones, Kenny Golladay, Brandon Cooks with our receiver core so far, I think that we're in a pretty good spot, to be honest. Okay. So let me go through, and I just checked out the chat, and Derek says subscriber only chat. Yes, sir. Let me go through and make this a subscriber only chat. Thank you for reminding me. And guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream yet, go down there, drop that like. It takes 1 second. We're live streaming every single night. Real Money Fantasy Football Chat. And False Base says, I'm about to drop the $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK. My man, thank you so much. Of course, I mean, with that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get all our rankings, our tiers, our draft guides, but also you are helping the channel tremendously. So thank you so much, my man. Thank you. I promise you I appreciate it. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. And when we're looking again, I think at this point when we have 5 running backs on this team, we have gone through, and just with the best ball format, I think we're fine at running back, to be honest. So I think maybe we switch back to try to bring in some more wide receiver depth here. We could honestly go with a quarterback as well. None of these quarterbacks fit a stack that we'd be looking to make. Tua is someone that I think we have drafted in very few leagues. Teddy Bridgewater goes at the 1303. Dear Lord, I could not consider drafting Teddy Bridgewater there. Obviously, Beasley, you have some issues with COVID that you may have to be a little concerned about. I think, well, honestly, we probably just go with the Traquan Smith. It's going to be down between Traquan Smith or an AJ Green. I know Smith has been dealing with injuries, and you've actually had Marquez Callaway looking extremely good as of late. But we're just going to go with Traquan Smith, trying to bring in some more wide receiver depth. That could have been a mistake. Maybe we needed to go with a Tua Tagovailoa, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I think that there's a quarterback or two in mind that I actually have that I think we could get in the 16th round. So let's just start to bring in these receivers here, because we know the receivers that project to have roles in their offenses, they're going to be gone like that. Okay, so Alexander Madison at the 1306. Giovanni Bernard at the 1307. Gio's also been someone that's been rising in considerable amount. Very intriguing to see Giovanni Bernard go there at the 1307. I personally could not do that. I could not do that. T.Y. Hilton at the 1309. Kadarius Toney at the third. There are some crazy picks going on in this draft. Kadarius Toney is someone that you've been getting in the 18th round a lot. Let's go and let's check out Wanted Alex's team, a long-time member of the Patreon flock. I mean, he has been around for probably longer than 99.99% of people in the live chat right now. And let's go through and let's see this. For Wanted Alex, he has Barkley, Austin Eckler, and DeAndre Swift at running back. So he's gone a very top-heavy at running back so far. I'm imagining he's not going to commit that many roster spots to it. And he's gotten Godwin, Jamar Chase, Corey Davis, Will Fuller, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, and Kadarius Toney at receiver. I'll say really the only pick that I don't like so far through this draft, I mean, getting a Kyler Murray at the 603 is fantastic value as well. Really the only pick that I don't necessarily like is this Kadarius Toney selection. I just think that you could have gotten Kadarius Toney significantly later than where he goes here. I mean, I don't necessarily see why Kadarius Toney is going in this range. Maybe something broke today about Kadarius Toney that I don't necessarily know about. I would really like to hear that, because, I mean, I've been drafting Kadarius Toney a ton in the 18th round. I would love to hear some positive news on Kadarius Toney. Okay, so let me pull up my exposures real quick, because I remember that we were going to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Zach Wilson goes to the 1403. I believe we saw a double stack that he had with both Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. So I was expecting him to go with the Zach Wilson. Thought he was possibly going to wait to do it in the 15th round. Okay, but let me pull this up real quick and let's search what we are looking for in Tua Tagovailoa to see how many leagues I have him in. I have him in 3.2% of drafts, which is intriguing because I have his receivers in a lot. I have Will Fuller in 16% of leagues. I have Devontae Parker in 17% of leagues. And I have Waddle in 8. So I need to be drafting Tua more. There's no explanation for me to be drafting his receivers that often and for me to not be drafting him hardly at all. So it's honestly probably just a massive leak that I have. I can't believe we've been drafting his receivers that often. Now, Uncle Trey has Dak Prescott and Trevor Lawrence already. So, yeah, I'd imagine that we were getting Tua fall to us here. And this is fantastic value on Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, this is 25 picks behind his ADP. So he plays a different bye week than Matthew Stafford. I think we get Tua here. We're probably done at quarterback, and we could just go through and roster some extra running backs. You know what's going to be great with this league is we can roster 6 running backs and 8 receivers here because we took George Kittle earlier on. So we're only going to have to take one more tight end as well. I think with the combination of Matthew Stafford, Tua Tagovailoa, we're not going to have to draft the 3rd quarterback either. So we're going to get 8 receivers, and we're going to get 6 running backs on this build. Okay. Alejandro says, honestly, was driving and it was on the clock. LOL, panic pick. Okay, that makes sense with the Kadarius Toney, my man. That makes a lot of sense. Jared says, I told you to get Tua. My man, I got Tua for you. I got Tua. Do not worry about that whatsoever. Sony Michel at the 1411. Love the value with Sony Michel. Honestly, Michel's probably someone I should have taken at the 1304. That is fantastic value. Now we get Mac Jones going at the 1412. God, this draft is wild. We are getting some off-the-wall picks here that you really don't see often. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, Mac Jones, Kadarius Toney, just in the last 2 rounds, we've seen a lot of picks that were surprising. I mean, I'm getting Tua Tagovailoa after these quarterbacks. Usually that never happens. Okay, so let's pull this up. We are going to be done looking at quarterback from now on. So now we are just running back, receiver, and tight end. So I think at this point, I mean, KJ Hamler has to fall just slightly given the fact that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the starting QB there. And receivers, I think, are about to fall off a map. So before Teddy Bridgewater was named the starter, I'm still going to go KJ Hamler here. I was trying to convince myself into going with Christian Kirk. Y'all know KJ Hamler has been someone I've been a believer with his talent for a very long time. And now I think that we're actually seeing that talent play out in the preseason. Don't love the natural fit that he's going to have with Teddy Bridgewater, given the fact that Teddy Bridgewater more so a game managing quarterback rather than someone that's going to be coming out and just airing the ball out. And we know that with a KJ Hamler, this is someone that's going to be running a lot of deep routes with the speed. Hopefully run some drags like Party Till She's Hot was letting us know in the live chat earlier on. So let's take KJ Hamler. That one's for Party Till She's Hot. Okay, so now let's go through and Unexpected Savage says 8 wide receivers and 6 running backs until you auto pick a tight end. LOL, JK. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly true. We'll get a nice team until we auto pick Adam Troutman. We'll get a nice team until we auto pick Adam Troutman. Michael says, do you have any idea why Eckler's ESPN ADP is 22? Did something come up, or is ESPN dumb? I will say, guys, ESPN is not that dumb, but who is dumb is the 12-year-old kids who mock draft on ESPN. So you cannot look at their ADP whatsoever. And that's why I highly advise you to get in some of these underdog drafts, because every single one of these underdog drafts has at least $3 with the buy-in. So you know someone's at least caring about it slightly, as there is a league prize on top. And at the same time, I mean, everybody in here is over 18 years old. So you're not having a lot of kids in middle school that are going through and not necessarily liking the name Austin Eckler, and they prefer going with names. If we pull up to they prefer going with the Najee Harris. They prefer going with the Nick Chubb. So, I mean, I think that ESPN ADP, guys, you can't use it whatsoever. You can use it to kind of figure out what the casual people are doing. But if you're going to be wanting good data to look at, I think the Underdog ADP is way, way better. Just given the fact that, I mean, you actually have real money on the line, and everybody here is 18 or plus. Party Till Stott says your new Hamler jersey will look sweet in the studio. My man, I am excited. I'm excited. That's a big reason why we decided to go with the KJ Hamler here. And Wanted Alex going off the wall again with Eno Benjamin over Darrington Evans. If you don't know who Eno Benjamin was, actually played at Arizona State with N'Keal Harry, with Brandon Ayuk. And yeah, he got drafted in the 2020 NFL draft class. A lot of people thought he was going to go in like the 3rd round, ended up going on day 3 instead. He is someone that does have some upside in the receiving game, but he is currently parked behind both James Conner and Chase Edmonds. So Eno Benjamin, an intriguing player. Don't necessarily love that price though. Now Zach Ertz goes to the 1607. So let's see where Uncle Trey decides to make this a next selection. So we're going to need one more running back, one more receiver, and one more tight end. So we're going to make an easy pick here of Hunter Henry for our second tight end. It's going to be a different bye week, but I'm going to be honest, I did not check that before we made the selection. So we could have just easily embarrassed ourselves if we did not get lucky on this draft. So yeah, we're going to go with a Hunter Henry here, and we're going to round out the draft with one more running back and one more receiver. But we are going to get another draft going after this one, my dudes, because it looks like we don't have the 700 people in here. We're not going to get a $250 draft going. Maybe we'll get that going later tonight. This next one, let's get a $10 draft going after this. That way, if we get enough people in here, the draft after that can be the $250 draft. So yeah, let's go through and let's get a $10 draft going after this one. But please, guys, please go down there and drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton. Okay, so Austin Hooper goes to the 1611. Love the value with an Austin Hooper there. I mean, I think that we easily prefer Austin Hooper over Adam Troutman with the current Adam Troutman injury. Now, Jameis Winston at the 1612. Raw's going with some unique quarterbacks here. Adam Troutman at the 1701. Okay, so let's pull this up. Obviously, you can no longer draft Xavier Jones. So we're just running back and receiver from here on out. And honestly, we may be taking a running back here because it looks like, yeah, I mean, JDE, whatever his name is, has 6 running backs and 6 receivers. So he has to kind of go receiver. Yeah, he has to go receiver here. So we're probably going to be coming away with the James White. Yeah, we're going to go to James White as our 6th running back. In a running back room that we have Josh Jacobs, Trey Sermon, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, Naheem Hines. I think that we're going to be able to piece together a solid group of running back production. Let's bring in James White, and we're going to get... Oh, this is a fantastic draft so far, in my opinion. We're going to get another receiver coming in here. 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, and 8 receivers. Let me show off this draft board, and I see we have a donation coming out from Derek, my man. Thank you so much. You're saying, who's more to blame, the Patriots or N'Keal Harry? I will say that N'Keal Harry obviously was a prospect that a ton of people liked coming out of the NFL draft. I mean, it was common for the regular person in the dynasty community to actually have N'Keal Harry ranked as the 101. Personally, I didn't because I prefer rookie running backs compared to rookie wide receivers. But I mean, I will say that it's extremely hard for me to answer that question. Yes, the New England Patriots have been very bad historically at both scouting and developing their receivers. I think that New England's probably not a good spot for your rookie receiver to land in. I will completely be willing to admit that. But at the same time, N'Keal Harry, it's a little different given the fact that he never showed any kind of flash whatsoever. And it would be different if New England never gave him a shot to get on the field. But they played N'Keal Harry a ton. N'Keal Harry has ran a ton of routes. The problem is he's just not good enough to get open, and he's not good enough to draw targets. So I'll say the majority of the blame is to be had on N'Keal Harry, but I think it's a valid question. It's a valid question. Okay, so now let's go through and Donovan Peoples-Jones, Deshaun Jackson at the end of the 17th round. So Deshaun Jackson, someone that's been going very high in these best ball formats because obviously, I mean, you're trying to just find those spike weeks. You're trying to piece together those random spike weeks for your flex spot, similar to what we did at running back here where, I mean, yeah, it's going to be very hard to know who to start between the Nyheim Hines, the James White, the Tony Pollard, the Zach Moss, the Trey Sermon as our running back too. But we know that whenever you don't have to make that start set decision, and then the highest scoring player when Nyheim Hines pops off and he has his 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and 84 receiving yards, that week's automatically going to slide into our starting lineup. So we don't have to sit there on Thursday Night Football and go, oh my God, I wish I would have started Nyheim Hines. So I think that this combination of players is actually very intriguing. I know a lot of people view Deshaun Jackson in the same light. Personally, I can't get there with Deshaun Jackson, mainly because I don't think he's really going to play many games at all this year. I think it's more so going to be Tutu Atwell. Like, I probably would be drafting Tutu Atwell over Deshaun Jackson, to be completely honest. Okay, so now let's go through and Sam Darnold at the 1805. Ridiculous. Okay. Bryce Perkins at the 1802. Was this just a donation to the league pot here? Was this just, yo, and hey, take my $10 buy-in. Y'all can do what you want with it. Anthony Ferkshire going in the 18th round now. My God, I have way too much Anthony Ferkshire, and we were drafting him significantly before this. We were drafting him way before this pick right here. So it's brutal to see him going here now. Now, I think we are going to probably go with a John Brown. I mean, John Brown, he is someone that I didn't like initially, but when we're kind of getting this value on him, maybe DeMarcus Robinson's a little more intriguing. The problem is John Brown's going to be playing on 3 wide receiver sets. I know Bryan Edwards, I know Henry Ruggs are both starting over him, but he's playing on 3 wide receiver sets. So yeah, that's going to be the team. Let me go through. Let me set up another $10 draft. Y'all can rewind it a little bit. I already showed the entire draft board. Let's set up a $10 draft that's going to get sent out in the live chat. I'm just going to label it $10 draft. And then from there, we'll go through and we'll try to get another $250 draft going later tonight. But let me go through and get this set up. And guys, if you have not signed up for Underdog Fantasy yet, make sure you go out there, sign up for Underdog Fantasy. I mean, you get so much in return. A, you help the channel. B, you get our 2021 fantasy football rankings. C, you get our draft guide. D, you get $25 added to your account with the $10 deposit. And like we said, if we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, they're flying people to go to Tampa, Florida, go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me, go to a Florida Flock meetup. We'll do a 24-hour live stream. And I promise you, you will be done hearing y'all will very rarely have to hear me go through this little spiel once we get to 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy. So, I mean, I think that's reason enough to go out there and deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. Okay. Party Till Todd says, a dude make me feel better about Kenny Golladay and DeAndre Swift. It's going to be hard for me to go out there and make you feel better. Obviously, 2 players that, I mean, we don't necessarily have the clarity on their current injuries. I will say that with Kenny Golladay, I've actually been drafting him a lot at the discount at the 6-7 turn. He was someone I was not drafting that much previously, but I think at this point, he does look like he's a decent value in these best ball leagues. In a traditional league where you're having to submit your starting lineup each and every week, he's a little less appealing there, just given the fact that he is more so that extremely high average up the target receiver. He's more so like a Mike Williams, to be completely honest. But in best ball, I do like him. Okay, so let me send out this $10 draft right now. And this is going to feel like 1 second. Like literally it feels like this, where if you do not press the link in 0.5 seconds, there's no chance that you get in the draft. So let's just pray right now that we get the 101. Actually, this is the $10 draft. Give me the 112. Give us the 101 and the 250. Give us the 101 and the 250. Give us the 112 here. We get the 102. Hey, I guess we'll take the 102 here. I'll get the 101 and the $250 draft. No problem. Let's lock in Dalvin Cook. And obviously, when we're up here, I mean, we kind of have a good idea of who we're going to go with. Now, I do want to put these little stars on him just to look at them in our queue, because it was a scenario where I believe it was last week in a public league where I went through and I was drafting at the 103, and I was like, okay, well, I guess the 103, we're getting Devontae Adams, yada, 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 like we've discussed so many times before. And then all of a sudden, I mean, the team at the 102 took Ezekiel Elliott, and without even thinking, I just drafted Devontae Adams without even seeing that we had Dalvin Cook available to us. Do not want to make that mistake anymore. So just in case Christian McCaffrey does not go at the 101, let's have him loaded up here. But we have some people out in the live chat that are regulars. We have some new people out here as well. It looks like mainly regulars out here in the live chat. Okay, so Debo, I believe this is someone that's been out to a draft before. Rummy Rams, he's a regular. Aiden, I believe maybe he is new. San Diego's Finest, that's a regular. Pretty, maybe he's been out to one. The Real Purple Haze, I believe that he is new. Flocking Up, my dude, I believe that he is a new. Clutch Cow, that's a regular. Yeah, so we're going to go Dalvin Cook here at the 102. And with Dalvin Cook, we've discussed this time and time again. But let's go through and let's kind of try to map out exactly how this draft is going to go. Because when we take a Dalvin Cook at the 102, what it allows us to kind of construct this roster as is going to be more so the hero running back build, where we take that one running back at the top, and then from rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, we're kind of avoiding the running back position, and we're more so willing to just wait until we get like a Trey Sermon, a Chase Edmonds, one of those running backs making it back to us in the 7th, where we can go through and we can be elite at both receiver and running back with what Dalvin Cook gives us in his projection if he can stay healthy all year. So you have Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams going at the 103 and the 104. Derek says, I'm Debo for the 10th time. Derek, I'm so sorry, my man. Usually whenever there are like the small acronyms like that, it's very hard for me to remember. I mean, it's a lot easier when we have like spelt out words here that we can remember. But thank you for letting me know, my man. Just those acronyms are a little harder. Teresa says, hey, Mason, I'm in New Orleans getting ready for a hurricane, but still watching you. Teresa, be safe. Be safe. Obviously, you should not be wasting your cell phone battery watching this live stream, but I am rooting for you. We almost had a tropical storm coming through Tampa, and I've never been in a tropical storm before. I have no idea what it's supposed to be like. I haven't heard anything. I'll be completely honest. I mean, outside of fantasy football, I never know anything that's going on in the real world. So I don't know what the hurricane's going to be like. I am wishing you the best, though. And of course, thank you for always being out in the live streams. Okay, so Taylor Calvin Ridley at the 1-2 turn. Love seeing Taylor there. So Tyreek Hill falls to the 110 in this draft. Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, like we've discussed. I do like getting Hopkins at the beginning of the 2nd because you can get Kyler in the 5th. Antonio Gibson at the 204. Very few running backs this year have the same type of upside as Antonio Gibson. The one thing you kind of have to be worried about is maybe Washington just collapses as an overall offense. Obviously, still a very good team with how good that defense is. But with Antonio Gibson, maybe it's a little harder to go through and just be fully committed to that one player if we have the concern with the overall offensive unit with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, Najee Harris at the 205. Nick Chubb at the 206. I think that all of a sudden, I mean, we may be neutral on Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb may be someone that I'm not even saying to avoid anymore because now I think he's finally going in the correct range in drafts. It was so funny that people were trying to advocate that Nick Chubb should have been going in the 1st round earlier this offseason. That was always a horrendous pick. In the middle of the 2nd, Nick Chubb's a great value. I'm completely fine with Nick Chubb in the 2nd. I mean, this was something that I started to see this last week in private drafts. And then I thought it was more so just because people in these private drafts were a little lower on Nick Chubb compared to the consensus. But I'm starting to see it in public leagues as well. So AJ Brown goes here. So we're going to get a start that we honestly haven't had that much. We're going to get the combination of Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. Y'all know this is something that a lot of people do, make that one bet on the Minnesota Vikings offense. It's kind of convenient with the range that these players go in. So we have CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen going at the 212, the 301. I'm going to get a Kittle just like we did in the last draft. I really like how our team panned out when we were able to take an elite tight end and we only had to get one more tight end through the rest of the draft. So let's take a George Kittle here at the 302. Now, Allen Robinson goes at the 303. Yeah, A-Rob is intriguing. The thing is, I really loved our team with Kittle in the last draft. And when we are drafting on this side of the room, we know we're not really going to have access to the Mark Andrews. We're not going to have access to the TJ Hawkinson tier. So more so just getting George Kittle in here, I think does provide us that safety where we know we're only going to have to draft one more tight end. And I think with how nasty the landscape has been looking, I don't necessarily want to be in a spot where we have to continuously draft 3 tight ends every league. Okay, so Will says, Mason, do you like my guy Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence more this year? If I was having to make a bet on who scored more raw overall points this upcoming season, I would bet Trevor Lawrence. And I would be willing to make that bet. I mean, I think that Trevor Lawrence is definitely the guy that you prefer having over Justin Fields. I know a lot of people are terrified based on what we have seen from Jacksonville the past 2 weeks. And I'll say, yeah, Jacksonville has looked very gross, but at the same time, it's a first-year head coach. It's a rookie quarterback. Are we expecting them to look good? I mean, they don't even have their vertical field stretcher in DJ Chark on the field. So, yeah, I think that there's probably going to be a good chance that that's a team that starts off very slow, but maybe they pick it up a little closer to the fantasy football playoffs. So now if we are going through trying to see anything that stands out, taking Mahomes at the 308, not a massive fan of. I think Mahomes is just so hard to draft in the 3rd round. James Robinson at the 311, really like that value if you're going to be getting him at the 3-4 turn. Dobbins at the 312. And I do have James Robinson right before J.K. Dobbins and DeAndre Swift. That's exactly where I have him in my rankings. Not the overall rankings. The overall rankings is in a different spot, but a positional ranking, I mean, we actually have him right between Clyde Edwards-Helaire and then the tier of J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift. I think these 3 guys are in the same tier for this upcoming season. Lankdog says, first time at the 101 in days. My man, I'm happy that you had the 101. I'm honestly kind of feeling bad for you, though, that you have to draft next to us. Of course, that is not something you want to be doing, given the fact that we are out to crush you. My man, that's my one goal in this draft. Okay, so now Julio Jones at the 404. Joshua says, do we have to wait to get into a live draft to set up an Underdog account? No, you do not have to wait whatsoever. That's why I'm sending out those links with those automated messages in the live chat. It says join our next draft here. All you have to do is press that link, then go and set up your account, make it $10 deposit, and use promo code FLOCK. Then you're set up. And if you make that $10 deposit, you'll have $35 into your account because they add $25 to your account with promo code FLOCK. And then you can just enter into those drafts as soon as we send them out with the private links. Okay. So Montgomery at the 405. David Montgomery has been someone falling. Like we said, we actually got him at the beginning of the 5th in the $500 league the other day. Okay, so T. Higgins at the 407. Mike Evans at the 406. Tyler Lockett at the 408. Okay, so here you actually have Clutch Cal getting the combination of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Very rarely are you seeing both of these Seattle Seahawks wide receivers fall this late in the 2nd round and this late in the 4th round as well on Underdog. So, I mean, this is setting up honestly, probably a pretty nice double stack with the Russell Wilson and Seattle Seahawks. Okay, so we have Unexpected Savage coming in with a donation. Thank you, my man. I'll get to that in 1 second. But here what we already kind of discussed is when we go with a Dalvin Cook, one plan that we have is we are not going to be looking to go running back for a decent amount of time. So let's get Deontay Johnson coming in here at the 411. Let's try to find some of these receivers that we believe are going to have targets this upcoming season. And honestly, I know a lot of people are going to scream, but Mason, wouldn't you want Adam Thielen on this team? You have Justin Jefferson, you have Dalvin Cook. At some point, I think just going all in on one offense where you're investing your 1st, 2nd, and 4th round pick, that seems pretty aggressive. So I think that while if we do have Adam Thielen falling back to us at the 502, I will take him. I think at some point we have to understand that, I mean, where do I have to take Kirk Cousins if I end up drafting Adam Thielen here? I think I have no choice but to draft Kirk Cousins in like the 7th, I mean, probably the 9th round, to be honest. And I don't necessarily want to have to make that decision to go out there and reach on him. So yeah, we have Adam Thielen going at the 501. And now I'm kind of sitting here looking at a Jamar Chase going, is this a time we can go with a Chase? And this is kind of what I've said time and time again, where when you're in the 5th round, it's no man's land. I think there's truly no bad draft pick that you can make. So we're probably going to make a pick that we have been just consistently hammering in here. Let's get to Jacobs. I know we said we weren't going to draft another running back for a very long time. I know that's a reach according to ADP. But at the end of the day, who the hell am I going to take here? Am I taking Jamar Chase? Maybe if it's a tournament, we take Jamar Chase for the upside. But this is a 12-man league. I think we just take Josh Jacobs here, just get the guaranteed touches. And now, Unexpected Savage says, RIP to my brothers in arms. My military family mourns for you all. Love you all. Stay positive and keep your heads up. Good vibes to Flock Nation. Yes, sir. Thank you for sending that message out. Good vibes to everybody. Good vibes to everybody. I'm wishing everybody the best. Okay, so Jerry Judy does go at the 503. Willie says, Mason, 5th round QB. You never do that. Did I just go with the 5th round QB? I don't think we went with the 5th round QB. I think we went with Josh Jacobs here. And I'm completely fine going 5th round QB. I'm completely fine going with someone like a Josh Allen, a Kyler Murray at the end of the 5th. I mean, I think that's honestly fantastic. But, I mean, here we have no potential to stack any of those players. We're just going to take Jacobs, and we're going to be most likely taking receiver from here on out until we get to about the Kirk Cousins range. So Kyle says, this is the first time that I've ever taken Kyle Pitts. With Kyle Pitts, it's just so hard for me because I do prefer Hawkinson. I do prefer Andrews. So the one time I took Kyle Pitts, I believe it was actually the 6'10", because I know I've taken him in a draft before. But it definitely was a private draft, and that's why I think he fell that far. Yeah, so Kyle Pitts, I have him in 0.8% of leagues. I have him in 0.8% of leagues. I will go through and I'll take a screenshot of this so I can share it for y'all. Yeah, so I have Kyle Pitts in very few leagues. I just have one share of him, and it's in a $50 league. Okay. Scroll down a little bit. Okay, so now you do have those elite quarterbacks going off. I think the quarterbacks in this range are fantastic, and that's why, I mean, we discussed wanting to take a DeAndre Hopkins in the second round before, wanting to take a Stephon Diggs at the 1-2 turn, because then you kind of get the out where you are allowed to take a Kyler Murray, a Josh Allen, and it makes a lot of sense. And here, Rummy Rams getting the setup to go Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews at the 5-6 turn. Let's see if they do it. I mean, they go Mark Andrews. That's what I figured. I think that's honestly best case scenario. If you're going to be drafting in no man's land in the 5th, beginning of the 6th round, I think what you are dreaming for is you're dreaming of the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stack. I think that is by far and away the best thing that you can do in that range. Okay, Alejandro says, Flock League settings, Dalvin Cook, or LaVisca, and Zach Wilson. Okay, so if this is going to be a best ball Flock Dynasty League, I think that we actually do probably prefer the combination. Actually, we probably prefer Dalvin Cook, given the fact that, I mean, at this time of the year, we know that those win now pieces in redraft leagues are going to hold a substantial amount of value. So I think you actually go Dalvin Cook thinking that you can get slightly more through trade. Okay, so guys, make sure you're going down there, dropping a like on the live stream so we can get enough people in here. We can get a $250 draft going. I really want to get a $250 draft going. And 321 Packer says, who is your highest exposure player on Underdog? Someone that I have literally never drafted until 2021. I've never drafted him until we were getting him in the 5th round. We've talked about him time and time again, so I'm going to not talk too much about him this time. Josh Jacobs at 20.8%. So one out of every 5 leagues, I have Josh Jacobs in. And I know that's aggressive by dudes. And we got burnt having a similar exposure rate on a Travis Etienne, being actually way more overrate on, believe it or not, our man Cam Akers before the injury. But it is what it is. And here, I think between Antonio Brown and Laviska Shenault, y'all know who we're going with. We're going with our man Laviska Shenault. I think he does get a bump up with the Travis Etienne injury. Also, I have been seeing Trevor Lawrence fall considerably, and I'm be more excited to take Trevor Lawrence at a value compared to taking Tom Brady in like the 9th round. Okay. Evan says, Kamara's rank if Jameis wins the job, question mark. Okay, Evan, of course, thank you so much for coming out with the donation. I'll say, okay, now we're going with Antonio Brown. Actually, do we want Juju here? Do we just want to kind of go get our guys? No, we have to get Antonio Brown just for an exposure standpoint. I think that we have Antonio Brown in not nearly enough leagues. And obviously, if anything were to occur to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, Antonio Brown does have league winning upside. So let's go with AB there at the 702. And then going over, so if we had Jameis Winston, obviously there's a difference between him being named the starter and him having a guaranteed job as the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints for the entire season. Now, if you came out and you said, Mason, in this hypothetical world, we know that Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback for all 17 games this season for the New Orleans Saints. I'm then going, okay, well, Alvin Kamara is the 103. He is in the same tier as the Dalvin Cook. We still have to take Dalvin Cook over him, but he's definitely going to be the 103 ahead of Devontae Adams. Now, if you tell me Mason Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints all 17 games, Then we're going up, and then I think we actually have to move an Alvin Kamara behind Derrick Henry, behind Ezekiel Elliott, behind Saquon Barkley. Probably, I want to say down here. I think that, guys, let me know this in the live chat right now. Please, please spam this. Where do you think? Okay, how about this? I'm going to send out a poll. In the live chat. I'm going to send out a poll on where you would be drafting Alvin Kamara if Taysom Hill was the starter for all 17 games. Okay, so I'm sending out a poll. Let me know. So would you draft Alvin Kamara in the top 4 picks if Taysom Hill was announced the starter for all 17 games? Would you draft him in the middle of the first in picks 4 to 8, or would you draft him after pick 8? I am very interested in your opinion there. I'm very interested. Okay, McCole Hardman at the 7-10. Mike Williams at the... Okay, so just this tier of receivers going off. Damien Harris at the 7-11. Very intriguing. I think in the majority of public leagues, you're going to see Damien Harris continue to rise, most likely to this 6-7 turn, to be completely honest. Corey Davis at the 801. Will Fuller at the 802. Corey Davis, obviously someone rising with an extremely strong preseason performance. And he gets paid a ton of money to go over there to New York. He got paid a ton of money, guaranteed money at the same time. Okay, so Will Fuller, DJ Chark. And to be honest, okay, so let me check out the poll results real quick, and I'll scroll to the top of the draft board for anybody just now coming into the stream. So let's check out what y'all are saying if Taysom Hill is going to be the starting quarterback for all 17 weeks. Let's see what y'all are thinking. I'm thinking that I honestly would probably push him down to, I think I wouldn't be able to take him over 8 players. I think that we would probably have Alvin Kamara at the end of the first if Taysom Hill was starting all 17 weeks. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen. And it looks like I'm in the minority in that. It looks like only 13% of people agree with me. But I think I would be drafting him at the end of the first round. Whereas if we had Jameis Winston as the starting quarterback, I mean, I'm out there and I'm drafting Alvin Kamara at the 103, no question. That's why I currently have him at the 104, and I have him at the top of that tier just because we're going through and going, you know what? We're probably, if we all had to make a realistic bet, we all know we're not getting 17 weeks of Jameis. We know we're not getting 17 weeks of Taysom Hill. It's going to be a mixture of both. Now, the exact mixture, we're not necessarily sure of. Now, Sony Michel goes at the 807. He actually went in like the 15th round in the last round. Not the 15th, like the 13th or the 14th. I mean, he went extremely late. So Sony Michel, there is intriguing. Brandon Cooks, Raheem Mostert. Okay, so Jarvis Landry. So like I've said time and time again, I think in this range, if we were playing in a tournament setting, then we're going to go with the Michael Thomas going, okay, well, we need the points at the end of the season. We need to make sure that we have an elite ceiling. But when we don't have the fantasy football playoffs here and we're just seeing who can score the most points throughout the year, instead, I think we're actually going to end up going with a receiver that can start scoring points for us in week 1. We're going to go with a Marvin Jones. We're bringing him in a team that also has Laviska Shenault. So we're setting up a Trevor Lawrence stack later on that we could get excited about. So yeah, I think that we're going to go with the receiver here. Dog, this is someone that got CMC, obviously. He has Herbert at quarterback, CMC, Trey Sermon at running back. He has Lamb, Keenan Allen, Chase Claypool, and Adam Thielen at receiver. So he goes Ronald Jones at the 812 as the third running back on his team. I'm probably going to go with another receiver here and be fine if we just get a running back falling back to us. Because when we have Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, I'm honestly kind of fine with our running back room so far. So I'm not going to be... Oh my gosh. Are we actually not taking Michael Thomas? Instead, do we take Tom Brady? I mean, we have Antonio Brown on this team. We don't have Brady in that many leagues. Yeah, we're going to go Tom Brady here. I thought we were going to go with the receiver. And now we're going to go Tom Brady, and then we're either just going to get Kirk Cousins or we're going to come away with Trevor Lawrence, and that's going to be our only quarterbacks. Let me see how many leagues I have Tom Brady in, because I feel like I haven't been drafting Brady really at all. We have Tom Brady in 6.4% of leagues. Yeah, that is a very low number. That's a very low number. Spack says Chris Carson or James Robinson. I'm going James Robinson over Chris Carson. JB Pat says, how do we get your updated overall rankings? So if you've already gotten the 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide by using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, all you have to do is go through, reply to that email, say, Mason, can I get your updated rankings? And you get them like that. You'll get a link where you can track them for the rest of the season. If you did not already get that link, just make sure you reply to the email and I'll be happy to get that to you. Okay, let's check out Flocking Up, my dude, because this looks like someone that does not have many receivers whatsoever. Okay, so he goes Zeke, Edmonds, Sony Michel, Zach Moss at running back so far. At receiver, he has Amari T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. He got Dak Prescott to stack with Amari Cooper, and he has Darren Waller in the second round. So I'm assuming that he's probably just going to have to hammer in wide receivers a little bit later than this. I mean, Pretty actually has less receivers on his own team. I mean, maybe the same amount, but a smaller investment where he went Kelsey at tight end, so very similar to getting that elite tight end. At running back, he has Najee Harris, David Montgomery, Mike Davis, and Michael Carter. Michael Carter at the 908. Really do like that value. And then at receiver, he has Robbie Anderson, Michael Gallup, and Jalen Waddle. So it looks like, I mean, he's going to be stronger than anybody. I mean, he's going to be stronger than anybody at quarterback, at tight end, and probably at running back as well. And more so comes down to, can he make up for it at the receiver position? And I think that's a good way to take a stance. Let's see kind of what happens in the 10th round here, because I think this is going to tell a lot about the values that can be later on. Okay. So Michael says, is Damien Harris going to be good? Damien Harris, he may be good for real life NFL, but I don't think he's going to be good for fantasy. And I actually have an in-depth video coming out very soon on Damien Harris, why I talk about why he is a very overrated player in fantasy football, in my opinion, in PPR formats. And I think that we provide a lot of historical analysis that kind of shows you exactly the prototype of Damien Harris and why you do not want that exact player in your fantasy league. Okay, so now Jacoby Myers, the 1005. Okay. So let's switch this back over really quick. And we have a very balanced team. I mean, we have Brady at quarterback, Kittle at tight end. At running back, we have Dalvin, Josh Jacobs. At receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, Laviska Shenault, and Antonio Brown, and Marvin Jones. So honestly, I don't even know where we would say we are weak on this team. So Jalen Hurts goes to the 10-10. I don't even know where we would go. I think we'd probably go Henry Ruggs, given the fact that we're kind of fine with any of those other players in the tiers coming back to us, and Henry Ruggs is the only wide receiver in this range. So we're going to go Ruggs at the 10-11 going, I'm fine if you want to leave us a tight end. I'm fine if you want to leave us a quarterback. I'm fine if you want to leave us a running back. We can kind of work with anything here. Okay, so let's see where Length Dog goes. I'm surprised to see that you still have like Robert Tonyan and stuff available. So he goes Gus Edwards. Edwards obviously would have been a running back that we were excited about. Zach coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Going to be very excited to get to that in 1 second. So let's see where Length Dog. I mean, I'm surprised that he doesn't go with the tight end. He literally had no tight end. He goes Mike Gesicki over both Robert Tonyan and Dallas Goedert. So here, I think that we honestly kind of have to go with the running back. And considering how we've constructed this team, I definitely would rather have in a vacuum Kenyon Drake over Leonard Fournette. And honestly, it's not even close for me. But I think how we have constructed this team, we're probably going to have to go with the Fournette because we have Tom Brady at quarterback. We have Josh Jacobs. So when we're taking a player like a Kenyon Drake, while yes, it's going to raise our floor while we have Josh Jacobs, in reality, it's also going to lower our ceiling. So instead, I think we focus in on raising our ceiling, and that's going to be the Leonard Fournette selection. I think it makes a lot more sense for the construction of this team, even though, I mean, honestly, the correct call would have probably been just going with the Gus Edwards in the 10th round, but I really didn't think that Link Dog was going to go with another running back there. Now, Zach Wins coming out with a donation, says, drop a like, then come back tomorrow and drop a like, then just keep coming back and dropping likes. If you're watching these videos but aren't dropping a like, what are you doing with your life? That is a good question, my man. That is a great question. Thank you, my man. Thank you, my dude. Okay, so now Mike taking care of some stuff in the chat. Mike, thank you, my man, for that. Okay, so Nate says we have 4 week 7 bye week receivers. Guys, I do not care about the bye weeks at receiver. Really, the only time I'm going to care about a bye week in a format like this is if we are only going with 2 quarterbacks and both of them have the same bye, or we're only going with 2 tight ends and both of them have the same bye. Receiver, the bye weeks, they do not matter. I'm not concerned whatsoever. If we take like 4 running backs in a row that have the same bye, or if we take like 5 receivers in a row that have the same bye, then all of a sudden, yes, we have to be a little concerned. But I'm not necessarily taking that much into consideration whatsoever when we're drafting these receivers in terms of their bye weeks. So now Robert Tonyan goes to the 11:04. You have Dallas Goedert at the 11:07. Yeah, so I think that honestly we kind of had to take a Henry Ruggs at the 10:11. I mean, just because receiver after this was going to be disgusting. I mean, it was going to get really, really gross. So we're more so taking the last guy in this tier. Obviously, Henry Ruggs can have some random spike weeks. And guys, hopefully we can get a $250 draft going after this. Let me know in the live chat right now if anybody in here would want to get into a $250 draft. Let me know if y'all would want to get into a $250 draft to see if we can get that set up after this one, because I think that would be a lot of fun. We did one yesterday, so maybe we're not going to be able to get another one going today. But let me know in the live chat right now if you would be wanting to get into a $250 league after this. Leo says, why are peeps so high on Sony Michel? I will say that I think Sony Michel went too high in this league. I mean, at 807, that does seem pretty aggressive. I mean, we put him up in a decent range in my updated rankings on Patreon. And keep in mind, guys, use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Make that $10 deposit. Get $25 added to your account. Get our 2021 fantasy football rankings and our draft guide. And I'll say those updated rankings, I do not have Sony Michel this high. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, if Sony Michel, his ADP is all of a sudden getting me in the 8th round, I'm not going to be drafting Sony Michel really whatsoever. Okay. So Tua Tagovailoa goes to the 12:02. I'm pretty sure we got him at the end of the 14th round in the last draft, to be honest. I mean, we got Tua Tagovailoa extremely late. Okay, so Derek says he's down for a $250 draft. Okay, so Sean says he's down for a $250 as well. Okay, maybe we'll get a $250 going. Maybe we'll get a $250 going, because it's also a public league, so we don't need to fill it just in here. And GDix says he's in. Okay, we'll try to get a $250 going. What I'll do is after we end this live draft, I'll go through and I'll join the lobby and see how many people are in there, and then we can go through and see what it's going to be like from there. But I think we can probably get a $250 draft going after this one. This is going to be exciting. This is going to be exciting, my dudes. Okay, so we have this run on quarterbacks. It just hurts so bad. It hurts so bad to see Tannehill going here in the 12th. Do y'all know how many times I missed out on the opportunity to draft Ryan Tannehill at the 10th round when we've taken A.J. Brown and Julio Jones? You know how many times we have missed out on the opportunity, and here we're seeing Ryan Tannehill fall to the 12th. That is a massive fall. Now, I'm fine with any of these top 3 players, to be honest. I mean, these top 3 players going at ADP are perfect for me. I'm happy that we took Henry Ruggs in the last round as our 6th wide receiver, and we didn't necessarily have to push the position. Now, Naheem Hines is off the board. So, IA8 Dreams on the board. This is Isaac in the live chat for anybody wondering. So he has Kamara, Sanders, Hunt, Drake at running back so far. So he's really locked in at running back. So he goes Irv Smith. Yeah, we're just going to get Trevor Lawrence here. This is the perfect selection for us. I mean, he's atop of the ADP. We have Laviska Shenault. We have Marvin Jones. We take Trevor Lawrence here. We're not having to worry about quarterback for the rest of the draft. So yeah, we're going to go with Lawrence at the 12-11. Honestly, that's more so a no-brainer than anything. And then from here, we're going to be done at QB. We're only looking running back, receiver, and tight end from here on out. And also, guys, let me remind y'all, we took a George Kittle, so our need at tight end is very minimal. We do not have a massive need at tight end whatsoever. So Sterling Shepard goes. So Rashad Bateman, very intriguing in a format where, I mean, we have the playoffs at the end, but here where we're looking for points at the beginning as well. I don't necessarily think that we love a Rashad Bateman. Running back, Philip Lindsay. Not excited about Lindsay whenever we have just the 3-headed monster in the worst offense in football. Latavius Murray's going to make a little sense here, given the fact that, I mean, I like Alexander Madison as that premium handcuff running back at the same time. But when we have Dalvin Cook, I'm not taking Dalvin Cook's own handcuff. I'm not doing that. That's not how I play fantasy football. Yes, that raises your floor, but it lowers your ceiling. I'm not taking my own handcuffs. So, yeah, I think we honestly have to go with a Latavius Murray in that range. Now, maybe we can look back, and I think that the Henry Ruggs selection over Gus Edwards, that's maybe the calling card of this entire draft. I think we should have maybe not looked to gift horse in the mouth. We should have just taken Gus Edwards at the 10-12, because that's now looking pretty tough. That's looking pretty tough. Okay, so now Randall Cobb, AJ Green go at the 1304, 1305. Two receivers that are just consistently going back-to-back in these drafts. Rashad Bateman goes at the 1306. So Bateman's someone that I was drafting a lot before the injury. I just think with the injury, it's going to be extremely hard to see how he can go out there. He can overcome the groin injury. He can overcome the lack of him just getting involved in the offense and him getting implemented into the game plan. And all of a sudden be someone that's scoring points in week 4. And if you're not scoring points by the time we get to week 4 in this league, your team is essentially dead. So I'm not excited about drafting Rashad Bateman whatsoever. I would rather just draft a Michael Thomas a few rounds beforehand if that's what we're going to do. Now we have Alexander Madison falling to the 1309. A real run on wide receivers here. A real run on wide receivers. And Gail says, Mason, you're winning this league now. Congrats. I've been winning this league. I don't know what you're talking about here. We've been winning this league. Okay, so now let's switch this screen over here to the left. Philip Lindsay at the 1311. I'm surprised to see Lindsay not necessarily going down once we get the Mark Ingram usage in Houston. Isaac says, I'm thankful I got Hunt late 6th. Too much upside. Let's go through and let's check out Isaac's team real quick. So you got Kareem Hunt in the late 6th. I'm not going to lie. I honestly did not even notice that you got Kareem Hunt at the 6'10". This is what I'm talking about. This is what you see in a lot of public underdog leagues. Like Kareem Hunt usually, I don't say usually, but a lot of drafts he will fall to the late 6th. Very rarely do I see it happen in these leagues. But getting a Kareem Hunt here just does give you the flexibility in that you know you're going to have a running back that has a role. He's going to be getting touches every single week. And also, if something were to occur to Nick Chubb, yes, he is a starting running back right away. So you go through very heavy running back, very heavy receiver so far until you get to round 9 where you go Tyler Higbee, Jalen Hurts, and then Kenyon Drake, Irv Smith, Matt Ryan. So I think at tight end and quarterback, honestly, kind of recovered nicely in this range. I think that this is a great team by Isaac. I think that's a great team. Okay, so let's pull this back up. Kirk Cousins at the 1404. Obviously, Cousins, if we did not get a Trevor Lawrence, would have been someone that we were looking to draft. But, I mean, we can't take Cousins, even if we have Dalvin Cook, even if we have Justin Jefferson, when we have both Trevor Lawrence and Tom Brady. Okay, so Rob Gronkowski at the 1405. Honestly, I'm kind of fine seeing these tight ends go off the board, considering that we do have George Kittle. I probably would have taken Gerald Everett if he made it to us at the 1302, just because, I mean, obviously you're never that excited when you're loading up a draft pick of Latavius Murray in an offense that should be significantly worse this upcoming season. Okay, so let's switch this over really quick. So we're no longer going to be looking at QB. So even though Baker Mayfield does continue to fall, I think we're more so just these 3 positions with a running back, a receiver, and tight end. And now if we go through our roster so far, I mean, we have really no holes in my opinion. At running back, we have Dalvin, Josh Jacobs, Leonard Fournette, Latavius Murray. At receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, Laviska Shenault, Antonio Brown, Marvin Jones, Henry Ruggs. At tight end, we have a George Kittle. So maybe if we're weak at any given position, it would actually be wide receiver, which of course is not ideal in this format. So, I mean, only having 6 receivers, already having 6 receivers, we can really only draft 8, to be honest. We're probably going to want a construction of 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 receivers, and 2 tight ends. So Baker Mayfield goes to the 1410. So I think given the tight ends that we can get later on, while Cole Kmet does look like a great value here, I would be fine drafting him in the 1502 if he did fall. I think we're more so just looking at receivers that are going to be running routes, because we have guys that, while yes, they have very high ceilings, pretty low floors at the same time. I mean, we're not going to be surprised if we get a lot of zeros from either Henry Ruggs or Antonio Brown. So we took those guys for their elite ceilings, or at least their weekly spikes that we can see. But I think getting someone that can just get a decent amount of targets out of the slot in New York is going to make a lot of sense. So let's get Jamison Crowder at the 1411. And then at the 1502, this is where we have to consider, are we just going to lock and load a tight end here? Do we want to get a running back? The running backs aren't that exciting at all in this range. We do need to draft 2 more running backs, however. There's a running back that I have in mind that we can get at the end of the draft. We're just going to go with the Cole Kmet here. Yeah, he's a different bye week than a George Kittle. So let's go with Kmet, and we're only going to be looking at running back and receiver the rest of the draft. Only running back and receiver. Let me know what y'all think of that Cole Kmet selection. I mean, if I would know that we would get an Austin Hooper coming back to us in the 16th round, I would have 100% gone with a running back there most likely. But I think just getting Cole Kmet and not necessarily, yeah, Austin Hooper goes right after us. So at tight end, I think it would have gotten really ugly really quickly. So we had to get one of the last guys in that tier there with Kmet. But let me know what you are thinking about that. Let me know. Clay says, Mason, how much for the next draft? I think the next draft, we may try to get a $250 league going. We're going to try to fill the $250 league. If it doesn't, then we'll go through and we'll at least get like a $50 league. We'll at least do a highest stakes draft after this one. But I would love to get a $250. I would love to get a $250 draft going. The Rogue says, Latavius Murray might get cut. My man, I read that same report. It sounds like Latavius actually does have his job secure as of now. But I understand where you're coming from. I know. Let me look up the Latavius Murray contract. They were actually using him a decent amount. Let me pull this up. He is very old. That's one thing that's concerning about Latavius Murray. I believe he is. We're about to see this right now. I think he's like 30. Yeah, he's 31 years old. And Latavius Murray, he does have $1.8 million on the dead cap, but they could save about 2.1 by cutting him. Yeah, I think that he is probably a lock for the roster. Leo says, I signed up and used promo code FLOCK and made a deposit. How do I get the draft guide? My man, thank you so much going through and signing up for Underdog Fantasy using promo code FLOCK. As I go through and show everybody else this draft guide, I will just announce this draft, exactly how you get the draft guide. All you have to do is read the description of the video, and you'll see that you just need to send me a DM literally anywhere. And all you have to say is, Mason, listen up, you bum. I'm tired of you. You don't know what you're talking about. Just give me your rankings. Give me your draft guide. I used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, and I made that $10 deposit and got the $25 added to my account. So when you do that, just get me your email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy on, because when you get me that email, then I can go through, I can confirm, and I can send that to you right away. Now, even if you don't have social media, you can still contact me easily. All you have to do is press the Discord link. That's going to take you to our fantasy football group chat where you can send me a direct message there very quickly. Takes like 5 seconds. If not, you can just send it on Twitter. You can send it on Instagram. It's very, very easy. All you have to do is send me that email that you signed up with. That way I can confirm, because when you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Rankings, our 2021 Fantasy Football Tiers, our 2021 Fantasy Football Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. And to go along all with this, you help the channel and you get $25 added to your account. And when we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, we're doing a 24-hour live stream. They're flying people to Tampa, Florida. We're getting a Florida Flock meetup going. And when we hit that 10,000 goal, you better believe you are going to hear me say this a whole lot less. So that should be reasoning. That should be a good enough reason for you to go out there and make that deposit and help out this channel. Derek says, Flock is legit. Sent that guide out real quick. Yeah, I sent that draft guide out like extremely, extremely fast. Okay, so Malcolm Brown at the 1606. So, of course, we hate to see all these running backs going off. What we probably should have done is we should have gone with a Ramondre Stevenson. I bet we should have gone with Stevenson actually at the beginning of the 15th round. Honestly, we should have maybe even considered Ramondre Stevenson over Latavius Murray. Okay, so let me switch this over. So the 1611. We're going to get some running backs making it back to us. But a big thing is, I mean, if we would have got Ramondre Stevenson in the last round, we could have instead just gotten a Zach Ertz here instead of a player like a Cole Kmet. So yeah, Cole Kmet was probably I don't want to say a wasted pick, but not an ideal pick. Okay, so let's see where Isaac goes. He only has 4 running backs, so maybe he's out here battling us for running backs as well. So he goes Tevin Coleman. We're going to get our guy coming in. We're going to get Rashad Penny. Y'all know how much I love Rashad Penny. If anything were to occur to Chris Carson, we have seen Chris Carson miss multiple weeks before. I think Rashad Penny is usable during those weeks. Okay, you have Darrell Williams, not Damian Williams, going up the 16-12. And David Johnson, does he deserve to fall this far in drafts, like to the 17-12? I'm sorry, to the 17th round. I think we honestly kind of have to take David Johnson. We're going to take David Johnson there. I mean, that's someone that I've not been drafting at all so far. At all. But yeah, let's go through. Let's send that out. And after David Johnson in the 1702, we do have Kenneth Gainwell at the 1704. Gainwell is someone I'm not drafting. Let me know how bad of a draft pick y'all think that David Johnson's selection is. I mean, Johnson, I was not drafting him when he was going in the 10th, obviously. Let me see exactly how many leagues I have David Johnson in. So I doubt it's very many whatsoever, but if he's falling to the 17th round, I think we kind of have to take a David Johnson. Yeah, David Johnson, I've drafted in 4% of fantasy leagues. I only have $70 of entry fees on David Johnson. That is literally, that's nothing. That's nothing. Okay, so I'm really excited to see that. Derek coming out says 112. Let's hear it, Flock. My man, let me go through. Let's check out this team for you. Okay, so Taylor, Dobbins, Swift, Dillon at running back. So A.J. Dillon at the 712 does look like a quote-unquote reach, but like we've already discussed, I mean, at the 112, it's impossible to call any player a reach because you know there's literally a 0% chance he makes it back to the 9-10 turn. And then we go through, and your other running backs, Giovanni Bernard, getting someone in here. Okay, so let me know what y'all are expecting with a Tony Jones. Like, I don't necessarily know if we can get behind drafting him here at the 15-12. Now, if we're looking at the running backs that he was drafted ahead of, I mean, he went ahead of Chuba Hubbard. He went ahead of, more notably, in my opinion, someone like a Malcolm Brown, and Tevin Coleman. I think all of those are players that can see usage in their respective teams. I know Tony Jones, I mean, he was okay against the Jags, but at the same time, I mean, I think that's honestly a pick. I don't want to say near his ceiling, but even if Latavius Murray got cut, where's he going then? So not a massive fan there. Oh my gosh, my man, I hate this. I hate that you draft 4 quarterbacks. I'm telling you right now, a 4 quarterback build is going to be very hard to be successful with. How many receivers do you have? You have Ridley, Boyd, Corey Davis, Rondell Moore, Marcus Callaway, KJ Hamler. 6 receivers, 4 quarterbacks. Derek, my man, this team is dead. I'm sorry to say it. You drafted a dead team here. I would be willing to bet any amount of money on the planet that a team with 4 quarterbacks and 6 receivers is not going to be competitive. I hate to say it. It's just purely a math thing where you're not going to have enough receiver production, even though I know you go out there and you get some guys at the very top of the draft. You literally can't. You have to cap yourself at the very most 3 quarterbacks in this league. And you have to make a minimum where the least amount of receivers that you can draft in a format like this is 7. You have to go through and you have to at least draft 7. And I'm not, like with a Tony Jones and stuff, when I'm going through giving you some crap about it, I am fully willing to admit that I could potentially be wrong with that. And I could potentially be an idiot, which y'all know I'm wrong. And I'm an idiot all the time in 90% of things that I say. And I'm fully willing to admit that. It's like the one thing that I'm looking at and going, you know what? I know I'm right on this. That team is dead. You have to cap yourself at 3 quarterbacks. Like, there's been so much math showing this. And you also have to, at the very minimum, get 7 receivers at the very minimum. Okay. So we're going to get our guy, Dwayne Eskridge. I've stopped myself from drafting him that often as of late, but if we're going to be getting him here at the 18-11, we're going to be fine with it. And let's go through and let's get a $250 fantasy draft going. Okay, guys, drop a like for this $250 fantasy draft. And let me go through and show y'all again why we are doing these $250 drafts. And that's because with the big dog here, this is one of the larger tournaments that Underdog has to offer. And so what Underdog is doing is essentially when you enter into the big dog, I mean, this is going to be a league where you're playing up against 11 other people. And at the same time, whenever you get first in your league, when you get second in your league, when you get third in your league, obviously you get money for that. You get your prizes. But I mean, what's more important is if you get first or second in your 12-man league, then you get entered into a tournament at the end of the season. And if you get entered into that tournament, these are going to be the prize breakdowns. 100,000 to first, 50,000 to second, and yada, yada, yada down the line. I mean, there's 525,000 in prizes here in this tournament. And what is so appealing is we are only 2 weeks away from the season. And this has been something that's been going on for a while now, but everybody's preferring the $5 draft. Everyone's preferring the 25. Not many people are doing the 250. So it looks like this is not going to fill. And if this does not fill, keep in mind, it may. I may be an idiot and teams may just enter into it the masses the day before. But if it doesn't fill, that means that Underdog is having to pump this money into the pot. and not that many people are coming out here and fighting for it. They're going to have to do an overlay. Whatever doesn't fill, Underdog is going to have to go through and they're going to have to put in themselves. So you're going to be fighting with less teams for the same amount of money. So I wasn't planning on doing that many big dog drafts before we actually looked at this as something that we may have an opportunity to at some free money. So yeah, let's go through. We're going to enter it into this big dog draft. So if y'all want to get into this $250 draft with us, all you have to do is go to the Underdog public lobby, go to the big dog draft. If you join that big dog draft right now, I mean, just within the next probably 3 minutes or so, you are 100% guaranteed to be in this draft with us on the live stream. And this is going to be exciting. This is going to be really exciting. And looks like we're going to have 10 spots available for people to come in. So if this does not fill in 5 minutes, we'll go through and we'll just get a different draft going. But the reason that I want to do this instead of a private draft is Underdog is obviously not adding in any money to the league pot in a private draft. So I think if we're going to try to take advantage of the overlay that Underdog may have to lay out there, I mean, that's going to be in the public league with the tournament at the end. So yeah, we're going to go through and we're going to try to get this one going. Okay, Ryan says, how does he know that they'll do that? What if they just take the pot for the amount of people that were entered? My man, it's literally written in the rules. I talk to people from Underdog on a daily basis. We have that partnership. It's called Overlay. If you've ever played in a poker tournament, if you've ever played in any kind of tournament structure whatsoever, you understand that when there are those guaranteed prizes, those are the guaranteed prizes that are going to be in the pot. Yes, I've gotten confirmation with this. Trust me, that's not going to be changed whatsoever. They legally cannot change that. So yeah, my man, I promise you, it's called Overlay. It's a very, very common thing. It's a big thing with poker tournaments, if you know anything about poker. So Derek says he's in the big dog. Yeah, we got 7 spots left in this big dog. I'm excited to get this going. I think we're going to get this filled, no problem. Zach says, I'm actually amazed how much content and how detailed this draft guide is. I respect the grind. My man, thank you. And I'm honestly very proud of that draft guide. So I'm excited to hear that you like it. And a big thing is, guys, with that draft guide, I want to be completely honest. This is my first ever draft guide. And while it's hundreds of pages and while I think that we did a great job laying out everything in detail and we gave you more information than you could ever read with both the Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide and our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, this is the first season that we have pumped out draft guides like this. So your opinion means the world to me in that I know that we're going to be doing this every single year for decades going forward. So while yes, I am extremely proud of what we just put out, I understand that there are going to be a million different ways that we can make small improvements to the draft guides going forward. So please, please, please feel free to give me any constructive feedback that you have with those fantasy football draft guides. And a reminder, guys, if you want the draft guides, all you have to do is use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, make a $10 deposit. They'll add $25 to your account with promo code FLOCK. And because of our partnership, they're sponsoring our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, our rankings, and our tiers. Well, you will get that as well. Okay, Rico says, in a poker tournament right now, so can't do the 250. Also, already done a few of the 250s this week, but maybe a 50. Philip says decades. Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to be, I'm assuming that the Fantasy Flock Network is going to be around for decades. Maybe that's a little too optimistic, but I want to be optimistic. Okay, so what we'll do here, guys, is if this does not fill in the next 3 minutes or just in the next 2 minutes or so, we don't have anybody else joining in, we will go through and we will leave this draft and instead we will hop into a $50 league that I'll send out the private link for in the live chat. But when you leave a draft like this, you press leave draft and then Underdog literally like it's instantaneous. The money gets added back to your account. It's like bada boom, bada bang. It's literally not there. It's not gone really whatsoever. So you'll see that just added to your account as soon as you press leave draft. So if you've joined this draft wanting to get in the live stream, we're not going to be able to get this going. Trust me, it's not like you have to enter this draft. No, you can leave it. You can leave an Underdog draft until it is filled. So once 12 people are in it, then all of a sudden you are entered into the league. But more so right now, you're going through and you're just holding a spot down. Okay, so now we are halfway full. We're only waiting for 6 more people in this league. There are 6 spots open. So maybe we get this going. And Anthony Man says, is CMC kind of untouchable? I'm upgrading the Patreon sub. I mean, I will say also, thank you so much for being a part of the flock on Patreon. The Patreon support has been ridiculous lately. And yeah, CMC is untouchable. I literally got a question on Patreon today as someone was drafting at the 106, and they asked me, they're like, hey, I'm trying to move up to the 101, and I'm just trying to switch draft positions with that guy. What should I be willing to let him keep? Because they were essentially saying, if I'm going to be trading my entire draft slot from the 106 to get to the 101, obviously, so I can get to Christian McCaffrey, should I let him keep his third, and all of a sudden he just gets the 106 draft selection, and at the same time, he has the third from my 101? And I was saying, honestly, no, you can't let him keep his third, but you can let him keep his fifth. Like, I would be willing to pay a ridiculous amount to go over there and get to Christian McCaffrey. Party Till Shot says, good luck, fam. You'll get the 101 DeAndre Swift thoughts. With DeAndre Swift, it's very hard to tell right now, mainly because this is a team that's not going to be having an incentive to be competitive this upcoming season. It would be different if they had a strong incentive to go out there and to really make sure that they are pushing DeAndre Swift to help them get to the playoffs. So with the Swift, I'm not going to be moving him down our rankings that much. Possibly I look to move him one spot below a J.K. Dobbins in a full PPR format. It's going to be very hard for me to do that. But yeah, we moved James Robinson ahead of both of those running backs. I haven't really touched DeAndre Swift that much, and that should kind of give you a decent idea of what my current thoughts are. Okay. But we have waited for a decent amount of time, my dudes, and I'm sorry. It looks like we'll give this announcement one more time. If there are 6 other people that want to get into this draft with us, this $250 draft, like I said, I think Underdog's probably going to be putting some more money into this league pod, given the fact that I think they probably are going to have an overlay. I can't guarantee it, but with the rate that it's filling, it's probably going to have an overlay. Make sure you go to the description of the video, the live chat of the video, press that link, and all you have to do is go to the public drafts, and this is the Big Dog draft. This is the Big Dog, the $250 league. So we'll wait around a little longer. And like I said, I wasn't planning on doing any of these drafts, but since it looks like it may not fill, and we definitely want to be taking advantage of that, that's why I'm now a lot more inclined to go through and fire these off. But let's wait one more minute, and if we don't have anybody else coming in here, we'll leave this draft and we'll get a $50 one going. Okay, Rhoda says, why don't you use DraftKings? There are bigger contests, more players, and it's much more popular than Underdog. I will say that I play some on the side for fun, but the main problem is there are a lot of people that literally don't know anything about football, and they just have computer algorithms to go through and solve the game for them, and it's not necessarily fair. And if you go through, it's very hard to be profitable. Where Underdog, I think it's a much better layout of the platform. It's a lot more enjoyable on my end, and at the same time, I think it's a lot more beatable, and it's a lot closer to real fantasy football. So Underdog Fantasy Football is a lot closer to real fantasy football. It has a better layout. At the same time, you're not going up against sharks that just have computer algorithms doing everything for them. So yeah, I think Underdog Fantasy is a way better platform in my opinion if you're wanting to be a better fantasy football player. But it looks like this is not going to fill. So let me switch this over. We are going to leave this draft. And like I said, guys, if you leave this draft, I mean, you can feel free to stay in it and go up whenever it fills against the people in the public lobby. If you press leave draft, like literally, we just pressed it, and the money gets added to your account the second you get back to the home screen. I just saw my balance go up $250. So we're going to go through and we are going to get a $50 draft going. I will send this out in the live chat. Very sad that we were not able to get a 250. Maybe we can get a 250 going another night. But this is just going to be sent out in the live chat, and I'm just going to label it $50 draft. $50 draft, just like that. Okay. $50 draft, and then we sent that link out. Okay, so now we switch this over. And yeah, this should fill quick. It's not going to fill as fast as the $10 drafts just because there are going to be less people that are wanting to get in the 50. It filled still pretty quickly, but I'd imagine 101 or the 102. Give us a really nice pick here. Okay, we get the 110. Honestly, I'm going to say I'm not going to complain about it. While yes, it's a $50 draft, and while yes, we would definitely prefer to have one of those extremely nice picks, at the same time, we have gotten so many 102s, we've gotten so many 103s that the 110, this is going to be a nice mix. This is going to be a nice mix. We can go through and we can try some new things out. Sean says his first draft. Sean, I'm happy that you were able to get in your first draft. We have a couple regulars out here. We got some people that were actually Out in the last draft, we have both Isaac and Flocking Up, my dude, were out in the last draft. J.K. Upra was out in the draft last night. Duckworth, I think this is new. Vito's Pizza, this is a new team. Sean Hamilton, Rummy Rams, those are both regulars. Congrats on Rummy Rams getting the 101. Then Little Red Fournette. This is one of the best names that I've ever heard. This is, oh my God. I wish that I could like send Underdog credits or something. It'd be so cool if on Underdog, like you could send like gifts, like send something, like send a sticker or something, because this is a beautiful name. Little Red Fournette. That is so funny. I don't know how I've never heard that before. Never even thought of that before. And Jayan Arang, this is also a new name. So this is Jazzy Fresh says this is him. Okay, so Jazzy Fresh is over here at the 112. Let me know what the best Underdog name y'all have seen is, because Lil Red Fournette has to be up there. And one cool thing about Underdog is since it's not as, it hasn't been around as long as those other platforms, is you actually have a much better shot at getting a cool name that you like. Like we were actually just able to get Fantasy Flock. We didn't have to go through and ask them to unlock it for us or anything. It was just there for the taking. So yeah, you can probably get a name that you really like. And Lil Red Fournette, that is badass. Okay, Fall Space says, having some problems depositing the $10. It says location services denied, but I have them set to while using this app, which is the only one that is allowing for locations for Underdog on iPhone. I will say you cannot do Underdog Fantasy on this in the states Washington, Louisiana, Nevada, and Connecticut. Those are the 4 states in Hawaii. There are 5 states you cannot do Underdog Fantasy on, which is sad. I've heard that they're going to be changing some of those in certain states soon. I don't necessarily know any official details on that, so I can't speak on it with what I do not know. But let's get this going. And at the 110, let's see where we're going to go. So if we're pulling up our exposures here, the exposures at the top of the draft is going to be something that we have to be at least a little aware of. So Travis Kelce goes, we're going to take Saquon Barkley. I mean, Barkley back at practice, taking team reps with the first team. Y'all know Barkley is someone that I've been higher compared to consensus on for a very long time. So if we're going to get him in some leagues, we're going to mix up that exposure. I would honestly rather it be in a $50 league compared to a $10 league. So let's get Saquon Barkley coming in here at the 110. Okay, maybe one day it says he got an error when he was trying to join this league. Yes, guys, if you try to join this league and it's already filled, you'll get an error because if the link is out there going, but keep in mind, that's going to be for the private drafts. For the public drafts, you can always hop in. Okay, so now we go Barkley with the 110. It's just so weird to see Nick Chubb continuously falling in ADP. I like it. I agree with it. But I'm used to living in a world where Nick Chubb went in the first round and we were able to scream how overrated he was. Like, I miss that world, to be honest. And here we're going to get our guy, Jonathan Taylor, coming in. We're going to go back-to-back running back in this draft. We're going to mix it up just slightly. We're going to mix it up. Of course, we're going to be looking most likely to go receiver at the 3-4 turn. But we're going to go Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. I think there are not going to be that many starts that have this same level of upside. So, yeah, let's go Barkley and a Jonathan Taylor. Bun says, is this the last draft tonight? Let's see how this draft goes. So we've done, this is our 3rd draft so far tonight. Okay, so mixing at the 205. I have a video coming out why I love Joe Mixon this year. Why I'm confidently taking Joe Mixon in the middle of the 2nd round, almost every single draft. Najee Harris at the 206. I'm not going to get mad at anybody for taking Najee Harris over Joe Mixon, though. I mean, Najee Harris obviously does have a lot of appealing things in his own profile. DeAndre Hopkins at the 207. Great draft pick. Now, this is actually probably the best name on Underdog Fantasy. Flocking up, my dude. Leos says, are we high on Jonathan Taylor? Yes. Now that we are getting positive buzz about both Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson with their respective injuries, I think that Jonathan Taylor at the beginning of the 2nd round is someone who can be very high on given his talent profile. I mean, if he was still going in the 1st consistently, like if he was going at the 107, 108, then no, we're not wanting Jonathan Taylor whatsoever. But if we're getting him at the 203, I'm really excited about that. Okay, Toxic Midnight says, do you want Dallas Goedert or Irv Smith as your tight end 2? I'll take Dallas Goedert over Irv Smith. And guys, like I said, I don't want to be answering that many rankings questions in the live chat because literally all you have to do to get our entire rankings that are going to be updated until the beginning of the season is deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, and it helps out the channel tremendously. Like, honestly, I think if you have not done that so far and you regularly watch these live streams, it's maybe a little insulting, not going to lie. But so now Jefferson at the 212, CeeDee Lamb at the 301. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. I imagine we get George Kittle going off at the 304. This is probably going to be a receiver right here. It's probably going to be Terry McLaurin, George Kittle. At least that's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing Terry McLaurin, George Kittle here. Okay, so Allen Robinson. That's who I prefer over Terry McLaurin. But the majority of the time, you are going to see McLaurin over in Allen Robinson. For whatever reason, I don't agree with it. I mean, I'm preferring to go with A-Rob. But, I mean, who am I to say that I prefer the guy who's been a top 10 receiver before with Mitchell Trubisky, with Nick Foles, and with Blake Bortles? Anthony says, I don't think he has responded to my super chat. Let me go through, and I did not. I think we did respond to it, my man. Yeah, you said, is CMC kind of untouchable? I'm upgrading. Yes, I said CMC is untouchable, and I went through and gave you the example of how valuable CMC was with me answering someone else's question about how valuable the 101 draft pick was. Yes, I definitely answered that, my dude. I definitely. Shoot me a DM if you have an exact trade that you're wanting. I know you shoot me DMs on Patreon all the time. Do not hesitate to shoot me another, my dude. Okay, so David Montgomery at the 305. This is the earliest I've seen Montgomery go in a very long time. And obviously, when we start off Barkley, Jonathan Taylor here, we're wanting some receivers to fall to us at the 3-4 turn. So I'm happy to see David Montgomery. I'm not going to lie. Very happy to see him go at the 305. Then we get Terry McLaurin at the 306. I would have been fine taking Terry McLaurin at the 310 if he would have fallen. Amari Cooper at the 307. Yeah, so none of these teams here have taken receivers. There's a pocket of teams right here that have no receivers. So I'd imagine that we probably see them go off the board right about now. But let's switch this over. We get Robert Woods going. So my homes went... Okay, so he goes Tyler Lockett. We're going to go Cooper Kupp here over Mike Evans. I've been vocal on why I don't like the Mike Evans draft price and how I think it's more so a bet on touchdown volume, which we know is not sticky season to season. So Lil Red Fournette is up on the clock right now. Okay, so Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb. So they go J.K. Dobbins. So they start off with 3 running backs. So when we have 2 running backs on this team, we do like to see these teams kind of push the running back position because it's probably going to maybe be like a short squeeze on anybody who decided to punt running back at the very beginning where maybe they're having to reach a little later on. So DeAndre Swift at the 401. Okay, so this is kind of a dream. This is a dream right now with what we're going to get falling to us. I mean, y'all know if you are in the live chat very often, you know exactly who we are looking to get at the 403. And we have them in a ton of leagues. I'll pull up my exact exposure once we are able to draft him. So it's going to be Chris Godwin. Y'all know I want Chris Godwin here, but we can say that because there's a lag on the stream. And we have Godwin in 16% of leagues. So Mike Evans goes. Yeah, Mike Evans, we do not have in the same... We don't have him in the same ballpark as a Chris Godwin. How many leagues that I've drafted him in just because Evans is going higher than Godwin, and I actually prefer Chris Godwin over Mike Evans. Like, I actually have Mike Evans... Actually, I have Mike Evans in 9% of leagues as well. That's kind of surprising. I guess I'm just drafting receivers in this range a lot. But clearly, if I have 16% Chris Godwin, that's like 1 out of every 6 leagues I'm drafting Godwin. Thomas says, is Underdog full PPR? No, Underdog is half PPR, my dude. It's half PPR. Okay, so Jacobs at the 405. We're really getting some teams to go out there and reach on running backs. I mean, keep in mind, guys, this is a $50 draft right now. This is a $50 draft. So there are some real stakes attached to this. And also, guys, we live stream every single night, Real Money Fantasy Football League. So make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel. If you want to come out to the live stream again, you really need to make sure you subscribe to the channel because YouTube does not necessarily want to go out there and recommend those live streams that often if you don't subscribe the first time. And also, you need to hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified whenever we go live. That way you can come out. We don't go live at a specific time every single day because it's more so just whenever I can get done with all the work over there on Patreon every day. That's whenever I'm going live like that. Thin Blue Line says, I always see you drafting Chris Godwin, which I don't blame you. Yeah, I mean, with Chris Godwin, I have to say it. We haven't said this in about a week, but I mean, I need to pretty much just get a tattoo on my forehead with fine print and explaining this exact story because it illustrates exactly how much of an idiot I am. And I'm sure everybody in the live stream has heard it already, but I need to say it again to remind everyone. So in 2019, when Chris Godwin was going in the 4th, 5th round of redraft leagues, when he blew up and was the wide receiver 2 on a per game basis, I came out and I said Chris Godwin was the most overrated player in fantasy football. I said that I wouldn't draft him if I had 100 drafts. I said I would never come close to touching him. And all the fantasy football analysts, and at the time, I wasn't necessarily that big at all. I was probably making videos and getting 20 views a video. So, of course, I could act like this never happened and nobody would ever know. But, of course, I want to be honest and let y'all know how stupid I am. I mean, I was saying that I would never draft Chris Godwin in a million years. Everybody was just hopping on the same hype train that was going nowhere, that OJ Howard was going to be the second option in Tampa, that Mike Evans was going to be the guy that came out and was the alpha target. And all of a sudden, you had Jameis Winston leading the NFL in passing yards and crushing our soul. And we were just sitting there looking at Chris Godwin as the wide receiver 2 in fantasy and, of course, crying a little bit on the inside. Okay, so now let's go through. Casey says, yo, dude, another day coming in late, but you know I dropped that like. My man, well, thank you for coming in here at all. Thank you for coming in at all. Okay, so Josh Allen at the 503. So I will go back and I'll say, yes, earlier on we were making, I don't want to say we were making fun of, but we were saying that I did not like the teams that were drafting an elite quarterback at the beginning of the 5th round, like a Josh Allen, a Kyler Murray. But the more you look at the landscape of the 5th round, I mean, the more that you realize that there's no bad pick. There's no bad pick. They're essentially all the same. Getting an elite quarterback makes a lot of sense. I think that the last tier of players that's kind of a no-brainer selection is going to be this tier. Like once you get past the Brandon Ayuk, then it's really like just the Wild West with what you can do. That's why I've been drafting a lot of running backs in this range. That's why I've been taking a lot of Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, because these receivers aren't too appealing, and I'd prefer to get the receivers a little earlier on. Okay, so Jerry Jeudy goes to the 505. Okay, so let's click this X. Let's pull this back over. Yeah, so Chase Claypool goes to the 506. TJ Hawkinson at the 507. Now, with this team, we started Barkley and Jonathan Taylor. We have Cooper Kupp and Chris Godwin at receivers, so we are very balanced. I'm not going to be looking to really take Darrell Henderson here, however. Now, I can say this because my homes before us ended up going with the Mahomes, so we're probably going to go with Lamar Jackson. Yeah, we're going to take Lamar Jackson here. We don't have the option to get Mark Andrews coming back to us in the 6th round, which, of course, isn't great, but we have said this time and time again with Lamar Jackson, this is not someone that you need to stack, given the fact that you're more so betting on their rushing upside compared to the passing volume. And at the same time, if we do want to find some stacks, we can accomplish it later on with both Rashad Bateman and Hollywood Brown. So, yeah, we're going to go with Lamar Jackson here at the end of the 5th round. I mean, Antonio Brown goes to the 511 by Little Red Fournette. And I'll say I can make fun of you because you had the 602. So I think that you could have easily waited till the 602 to get Antonio Brown if that's who you're wanting. But maybe we're about to see a bigger reach here. And you're going, you know what? I could have gotten this guy as well. So let's just see what he does at the 602 before we say anything. Now, Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson go off, back-to-back running backs. Neither running back that I'd be too intrigued with. Now, I kind of want to go running back here, but this is the problem that we get ourselves into when we go with the running backs at the very beginning, where it's a lot harder to take a Javonte Williams. It's a lot harder to take a Kareem Hunt, the values that we like in the 6th round, when we only have at receiver Cooper Kupp and Chris Godwin. So going through, this is kind of a tough spot, to be completely honest. Maybe I was going to say, maybe we take a Kyle Pitts and diversify, but no, I'm not taking Kyle Pitts. I think in a vacuum, we definitely prefer Javonte Williams, but a problem is with this specific format, I think that we actually desperately need to get a wide receiver in here. And this maybe goes back to why I'm not afraid to go through and draft receivers in the 1st or 2nd round where we see the value representing itself, because I am very excited to draft like a Javonte Williams in this range, because you see in this format where you have to start 3 receivers and you're also getting those random guys spiking into your lineup. I mean, you have guys like a Jerry Jeudy, a Jamar Chase going at the beginning of the 5th round. You have guys like Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk going in the 4th. So the receiver position is going to get soaked up very quickly. So when we start only with Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, I think we're probably looking to get another receiver kind of soon. So maybe the better play would have been Robbie Anderson and then Javonte Williams, or Robbie Anderson and then Kareem Hunt, and let one of these other teams take a Lamar Jackson. But I think we need more Lamar Jackson in our life, and I think in a $50 draft, this is about going to be the spot that we want to get him. Yeah, because let me pull this up. Right now, I have Lamar Jackson in 4.3% of leagues. That is not ideal. I mean, the problem is whenever we were sitting in this range, I convinced myself a lot, at least we used to convince ourselves a lot, that if we were in the back half of the 5th round to take one of these elite quarterbacks, I wanted to make sure that we were getting someone that was bringing in a stack. But I think with a Lamar Jackson, we were not necessarily understanding that. I mean, all the receivers are being drafted after. Duh. Like, obviously, if you take a Lamar, you set up the stack later on, which I don't necessarily like to construct the quarterback position that way. I think it's a lot harder to find those natural stacks with values compared to just taking Hopkins at the beginning of the 2nd and getting Kyler Murray at the end of the 5th. But Lamar is someone we need to get because of his rushing upside. And we get some more running backs going off with Javonte, Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, Trey Sermon. Kyle Pitts falls to the 608. And I'll say this is the range where I think Kyle Pitts should be going. I think Kyle Pitts should be going in about the middle of the 6th round. So that's why when he's going in the 4th ahead of Hockenson and Andrews, I can't touch him. But if he was going to us at the 608, I wouldn't be jumping up and down excited, but I wouldn't hesitate to take him at the 608. I mean, I actually almost considered taking him over Robbie Anderson if we didn't desperately need a receiver. I think we would have possibly taken a Kyle Pitts when we already have Mark Andrews and TJ Hockenson off the board in the 6th round. Okay, Sports Laydown says, can we do a $200 draft after this? We tried to get a $250 draft going before this, but it did not fill, sadly. And I mean, for obvious reasons, I can't be going out and playing in 4 drafts every night, doing like a $50 draft, a $250 draft. We're going to have to space those out a little bit more. We'll save a $250 draft. I mean, I think an easy rule that I can have for myself, that way I don't go overboard, is let's only do $250 drafts when we're not going to do a $50 draft in the live stream. Like if we're going to do a $250 draft, let's only do $10 drafts as the other ones, and then we'll do the exclusive $250. That way we can get the high stakes in, and at the same time, I'm not just racking up an insane build that we have. So yeah, let's go through and let's space it out. So this draft, we got a 50-1 going. I can't get a $50 draft going and then do a 250 right after. Okay. So we have Juju at the 704, Chase Edmonds at the 703. I really like the Chase Edmonds value. I mean, I'm continuing to say that Edmonds in the 7th I like. I'm surprised to see that people aren't taking Damian Harris over Chase Edmonds. In a public league, you are going to see Damian Harris go over Chase Edmonds more times than not. But I guess because I guess the majority of people in this stream are maybe a little bit lower on Damian Harris compared to the public. Okay. So let's switch this back over. So yeah, Mike Williams going at the 706. So the 710, I'm not going to lie here. When we already have an elite quarterback in a Lamar Jackson, it does kind of suck to see, okay, Russell Wilson does go. I was going to say, if Russell Wilson fell to us, I would have been rolling around just crying about the fact that we took Lamar there when we could have had Wilson. So we're probably going to be looking to double tap the receiver position here. I think taking a Will Fuller makes a ton of sense. Y'all know, I mean, Will Fuller, someone I think fits this format perfectly, fits this team nicely as well, and we can get Tua Tagovailoa later on in this draft if we decide to do so. And with Justin Herbert, I can't be too excited about taking Herbert. I mean, when we already have Lamar Jackson, I mean, I think that we're already at such a deficit at receiver that we have to kind of be going out of our way to make sure that we're filling this void. So yeah, let's go with let's go with a Will Fuller, and then we're going to be fine with any receiver in this range not named Michael Thomas. And we're definitely going to get at least one of these guys falling to us, even if we see 4 wide receivers go in a row right here. So you have Lil Red Fournette going with a Marvin Jones at the 7-11. So Marvin Jones, I don't want to say that was a reach, but I definitely prefer having DJ Chark over Marvin Jones. Okay, so Corey Davis at the 801. Okay, so yeah, let's go with a DJ Chark. Actually, oh no, we can't go with the DJ Chark just yet. Okay, Peyton says, I've had much better luck drafting against non-flockers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers goes here. And I'll say, yeah, my man, I will say that I definitely enjoy doing the public drafts a little bit more. I mean, obviously, I love live streaming and being able to talk with you all in the live chat. But the thing is, when we do those public leagues, usually you'll always get like 1 or 2 people in the public leagues on Underdog that have no idea what they're doing. Like they draft like 4 quarterbacks in a row and you're just sitting there like going like, oh my God, thank you for donating to the league pot. Thank you for just giving us this free money. where that very rarely happens in a flock league. Usually a flock league, I think people are very in tune in what they should be doing in these drafts. But if you're playing in a public league, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Okay. So yeah, we do have a little bit of a receiver run going. We have yet to have a running back go off the board since the 705. I mean, we've been almost 13 picks without a single running back. How many picks without a tight end? We've been like 22 picks without a tight end already. So I don't want to say that's surprising, because obviously when you get past this tier of tight ends, that's going to be a massive tier fall off. So you do have Logan Thomas going here. And let me scroll up to show everybody the top of the draft board. And guys, if you are just now coming into this live stream, please go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We do this very, very often. Promise you, you're going to be wanting to be subscribed. We live stream every single night. Real money fantasy football drafts. These are not mock drafts. These are real money leagues. So make sure you subscribe. We get a lot of 50, a lot of 250, a lot of $100 drafts coming in here. So it's going to be really useful information for you to prepare for your draft. And if you want to prepare for your draft with the best tool available, make sure you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. Make a $10 deposit. They'll add $25 to your account. You can go through, and these are leagues where you do not submit your starting lineup each and every week. At the end of the week, your automatic best starting lineup gets submitted for you. And then also, you do not have the waiver wire. You draft 18 rounds, so you don't necessarily need the waiver wire. It's deep enough. Now, you're not replacing your real fantasy football league with this. However, you're using this as a tool where if you think that you're a very good drafter, you can go out there and this is what we're doing. I think that we're going to be able to win a considerable amount of money. I'm going to be in over 200 drafts this year. And what I really advise you doing, even if you don't necessarily think that you're going to win money doing this, I mean, you'll definitely win money if you just make that $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK and then get $25 added to your account. Because what you can do from there is you can go and you can get much better at drafting, where they have $3 12-man, $3 10-man drafts, where you can go through and you can do a ton of practice drafts where there are $3 leagues. So you'll actually have people in the draft with you the entire time. You're not going to have people auto drafting. You're not going to have people leaving the draft halfway through. So you're not going to be wasting your time drafting against the computer. You'll be going up against real people with real money on the line. Now, I will say you're going to have to be 18 years old. So anybody under 18 years old, I'm sorry, you can't do this. And to go along with this, when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get our 2021 rankings, our 2021 tiers, our 2021 draft guide, our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, hundreds of pages of information. And if we get 10,000 signups, they're going to fly people to Tampa, Florida to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. We're going to do a Florida Flock meetup in a 24-hour live stream. And if we get 10,000 signups so we can hit that goal, so they will go through and they'll have that sponsored event, you will hear these ad reads way, way less. So I think that is honestly enough motivation for everybody out here to go and make sure they take advantage of that. Okay, Bradshaw says, thanks for the Flock promotion. The best $25 best deal out there. My man, thank you. My man, I truly appreciate it. Okay, so A-Fly says, what are the scoring stats for Underdog Fantasy? They are half PPR, my man. These are going to be half PPR leagues. Okay, so let's switch this back over. And that's honestly one more reason why I kind of like a Josh Jacobs a little bit more in this format, because it's half PPR rather than full PPR. So Raheem Mostert is falling. Mostert is someone that I have never really drafted in these leagues at all. I have Raheem Mostert like 2% of leagues. I have him in literally like nothing. But maybe, just maybe, we'd have to draft him here. Let me look this up real quick. I just want to see how many leagues I actually have him in. And I'm kind of bringing up his name because I'm hoping he gets drafted before we're on the clock. So I do not want to have to be drafting him. Do we have to take Raheem Mostert here? This is someone I don't like at all, but when we're saying that we're going to be in like 200 of these leagues, I'm looking at this right now. We have Raheem Mostert nowhere at all. The problem is the leagues that I've drafted him in a $100 league already, so we have a decent amount of money tied up to him. We're just going to draft him here as our running back 3. I think it's a horrendous pick. I'm not advising anybody to do it, but if we're just trying to balance our exposures just slightly, I mean, we're just going to get him at the 9-10. It is what it is. I don't like it. We can get a tight end with this next 10-03. So we're going to get Raheem Mostert coming in here to be our running back 3 alongside Saquon Barkley, alongside Jonathan Taylor. It is what it is. Not a massive fan. I think that we actually have him down here in the range of these other running backs, but in a lot of other drafts, we're never going to have the opportunity to draft Raheem Mostert this late, where we'll have the opportunity to draft these running backs much later very often. So yeah, let's take Raheem Mostert there. We're not going to be looking at quarterback with this next selection. Yeah, so we're just going to go tight end here. We're going to go Noah Fant. Y'all know I'm a big fan of Noah Fant. I actually think that Teddy Bridgewater coming in helps out Noah Fant, to be completely honest. Okay, so let me go through, and let me show you all the top of the draft board just one more time for anybody just now coming into the live stream. John says, how do you look at your exposure? And oh yeah, guys, if you're on Underdog Fantasy, if you use promo code FLOCK and you've drafted some teams, the coolest tool in my opinion on Underdog Fantasy is if you go over and if you click completed drafts and then you just click the exposure tab, you can go through and you see in order, you can sort it by your entry fees into leagues, the most drafted player that you have. You can sort it by the percentage of leagues that you've drafted them in. So like if I'm sorting this right now, my highest drafted player is actually Josh Jacobs, both in entry fees and in the amount of leagues that I've drafted him in. One player that is brutal to look at. Travis Etienne. We've drafted him in so many leagues. It is what it is, though. It is what it is. We're not going to talk about that too much. We're going to have a good time in this live draft. And yeah, we kind of want to see these quarterbacks go off the board, to be completely honest. I mean, when we take a Lamar Jackson here in the 5th, we're not necessarily willing to go out there and, I don't want to say reach on this tier of quarterback, but we're not getting much by drafting them, to be completely honest, because if Lamar hits in the 5th, I mean, those guys that are going to be in the 10th, 11th range, they're not providing us that much value over a Lamar Jackson any given week. So I think that we would rather see these guys go off the board. Obviously, if we have an insane value falling to us in the 11th round, we may have to take it, but it's not going to be too ideal. It's not going to be too ideal. And guys, going back to that Underdog deal, so like I said, you get all of that. And at the same time, if we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, we get to go through and fly people down to Tampa, Florida in the form of a giveaway to go to the Bucks game with me, to go to the Florida Flock meetup, do a 24-hour live stream. We get all of that. And literally, I just pulled up YouTube. Our video this morning got 10,000 views. So when you're getting all of that to sign up to Underdog Fantasy and you know that you are helping the channel more than anything ever, it should be a no-brainer to go out there, and it should be a no-brainer for you to sign up on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. It helps out the channel a ton. And also when we hit 10,000 signups and we get to those goals and we're able to fly people out and we're able to go to that Bucks game, you're going to be hearing these ad reads a whole lot less. I promise you that, my dude. So make sure you're going out there and make sure you're doing it. Okay, so Irv Smith, Trey Lance at the 1102. You're never seeing Trey Lance fall this far. I mean, in a $250 draft the other night, I actually ended up drafting, let's scroll up. It was at the 102. And I took like a Brandon Ayuk in the 4th round. And then down here in the 6th, I took a Deebo Samuel. And we actually took a Trey Sermon in the 7th as well. So we had really every chip of our team down there on the San Francisco 49ers offense. And then we were expecting to go out and just quote unquote reach on a Trey Lance in the 8th round. And then he got selected in the middle of the 8th. And we had no shot for him. Of course, that was brutal. It sucked. It was what it was. But I mean, seeing that same draft selection here, get him in the 11th when we couldn't even draft him in the 8th, it is just demoralizing. It's demoralizing to say the least. Okay, so Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, Jamal Williams. We got a little string of running backs going here. Honestly, I like this tier of running backs. Like, if we could have gotten them falling back to us at the end of the 11th round, that would have been, I don't want to say ideal, but it would have been intriguing to say the least. Okay, so let's pull this over. Okay, so people saying Raheem Mostert got hurt. Guys, that was actually, I'm pretty sure, a false report that Raheem Mostert got hurt. I'm almost certain that was a false report that Raheem Mostert got hurt, because you pull this up. I mean, because Raheem Mostert's wife came out and said that, yeah, Raheem Mostert was practicing today. Raheem Mostert's wife this morning said that he was good to go. So whoever was coming out and telling y'all that Raheem Mostert hurt his back and you had to be worried about it, while I hate Raheem Mostert, I will say y'all definitely need to be going through And y'all need to be checking your sources and seeing what they do for y'all in terms of, do they get things right more times than not, or are they leading y'all in the wrong direction more times than not? Because I think a lot of these injury sources that y'all are going off of, people are kind of coming out and they're trying to get y'all nervous about certain players, and they're willing to say something very aggressive about a player potentially being out for an extended period of time, and that you should never draft this player because they're going to be just at a massive handicap because of this injury. Because when you make a video like that, when you make an article like that, whenever you make that statement, that's going to go and that's going to get a lot of traction. That's going to get a lot of traction. Whereas if you go, okay, this is not a big deal, you shouldn't have to worry about it, nobody's going to care. I'm not saying to ignore people going out there and telling you all that stuff, but what I'm saying is I want y'all to start double checking it. I want y'all to start going back and looking historically what the success rate has actually been with people trying to inform y'all with that information, because I've seen it time and time again. I get told this on Patreon with what people are hearing, and it's not that great of information if you actually go through and double check to see, oh, was this right? Was this wrong? Did this point me in the right direction? Did this point me in the wrong direction? Okay, but yeah, we went with the Mike Gesicki here to pair with the Noah Fant. So now we're no longer going to be looking at the tight end position. We're possibly just going to get one more quarterback later on in the draft. Not going to be too interested in a Justin Fields here when we're weak at both receiver, and I don't want to say weak at running back when we have both Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, but we're not strong at the position. We definitely need some more depth. So I think between Bryan Edwards, Emmanuel Sanders, we will be going with the Bryan Edwards here. I think that he does have a higher ceiling, and at the same time, I mean, obviously, this is someone that looks like he is a bona fide starter in Las Vegas. So if we could have gotten Henry Ruggs, I stand by the fact that Henry Ruggs is clearly the receiver that you want in Las Vegas over Bryan Edwards. We actually had Henry Ruggs getting drafted behind Bryan Edwards in the last draft, but Edwards at the beginning of the 12th round, I'm not going to hate it that much. Okay, so Jazzy Fresh coming out says 12th seed sleeper team. Watch out, LOL. Okay, so let's go through and let's check out Jazzy Fresh real quick at the 12th slot. Okay, so up here starts off receiver Diggs, Calvin Ridley, then running back gets slammed in with Robinson, Swift, Davis, Henderson. I'll say the beginning of the 6th, this is about when we're going to be considering a Darrell Henderson. I'm sorry, actually right here. I probably would... Actually, in this format, I would prefer Darrell Henderson over Javonte and Kareem Hunt. In this format, I would prefer Darrell Henderson over the... Now, Jarvis, Corey Davis, Jalen Hurts, Rondale Moore, Gerald Everett, Joe Burrow. Love the Joe Burrow value at the 1201. It would have been really nice for you if we ended up passing on a Mike Gesicki to allow you to have Mike Gesicki at the end of the 11th round. I think it's a very intriguing team, though. I think that's a very intriguing team in terms of, I don't think you went overboard at any given position, to be completely honest. I know you took 4 running backs in a row there to kind of go a little hog wild, but at the same time, you kind of needed to when you went with the receivers early on. Okay, so Cole Beasley, Jalen Reagor, Emmanuel Sanders. So we have hopefully a tier of running backs making it back to us that I have my eyes on. There's one player in particular that I would love to have, and honestly, actually, no, never mind. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. UA says, McVay said that Henderson will have a large role. What is Sean McVay supposed to say, my dudes? What is Sean McVay supposed to say? This is what the coaches always have to say. You have to give respect to the incumbent player. You can't come out here and you can't add on a player. You can't be the Denver Broncos coach coming out all of a sudden, trading up to get Javonte Williams in the beginning of the 2nd round and going, hey, Melvin Gordon, just by the way, you're getting replaced. Javonte's now our guy. No, of course, you have to come out. You have to give respect to the player that's already there. So what is that? That statement means nothing to me. That statement really doesn't mean a single thing. Okay, so Evan Ingram, Kirk Cousins, Ramondre Stevenson. So Ramondre Stevenson at the 1301. I will say this is about the range where he gets a little too aggressive for me. Y'all know I was saying that Ramondre Stevenson was a sleeper running back of mine before the preseason even started. But at the 1301, I think that this is about the point where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm hopping off this hype train. Maybe we got him at a decent enough value that I'm maybe a little bit... maybe I'm not necessarily excited to go through and just go, okay, we love Ramondre Stevenson at 1301 when we're used to drafting him in the 17th, 18th round. But I don't know. Maybe we're just a little salty on that. Okay, guys, do y'all want to see the hats that we just got ordered? Okay, I'm gonna show this for everybody in the live stream right now. Make sure y'all go down there and drop a like on the live stream. I haven't figured out what we're gonna do exactly with these yet. I don't know if they're gonna be done as giveaways on Patreon or we're gonna be giving them away on the live streams. But regardless, we ordered a decent amount of these hats with all the Patreon support that we've had. So I'm gonna show this over. Y'all better actually, we'll show them after these draft picks. We'll show them after these draft picks. I'm not going to be selling these individually. We're doing them as some kind of giveaway. I ordered a couple hundred of them. We're going to be doing them as a giveaway. I'm going to be giving them out on Patreon. We're going to be doing something with them. I'm not just going to be going, okay, well, we'll sell them these for $30 or whatever it is. No, we're not doing that. But let me show you all these hats right now. Because we made some adjustments. The one on Patreon I did not like. I mean, we uploaded initial design on Patreon, and I did not like it whatsoever. Okay, so now I think that we actually probably go with... Yeah, we're going to go with an Alexander Mattison here. Yeah, we're going to go with an Alexander Mattison. I'm not going to say too much just because I want the other player that we're looking at making it back to us at the 1403. But guys, after this pick right here, I'll show you all the flock hats. I'll show you all the flock hats. Not selling them. I'm probably just going to be... We're either probably going to be giving them away as some kind of giveaway for anybody who's used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. We're probably going to be doing something on Patreon with them. We'll definitely be doing something on Patreon with them. It just depends on how much I'm going to order. I'm going to wait until I actually get them in my hand to go, okay, well, I really like this quality, and then we'll do something with them and whenever I have a concrete plan. But I'll show you all the designs right now. Okay, and now we get our guy that we wanted falling back to us. We get Nelson Aguilar. Okay, I really wanted Nelson Aguilar falling back. I mean, this is a receiver room that's not too exciting. So let's take Nelson Aguilar, and I will show y'all these hats really quick. Okay, so it's going to be a black dad hat with just flock, like the logo on the front. Very simple, and then flock on the back strap. Hope y'all liked those, but that's what we're going to be working with. Like I said, not going to be selling them. We're most likely going to be doing them as some kind of limited giveaway on Patreon. Most likely, what I'll probably end up doing if I like them is I'll probably just up the order from a couple hundred to like 1,000, and I'll give them away to anybody that is a part of Patreon for like 6 months or so. I'll have to do the math to see how it checks out and everything. So I think that, honestly, I really like the updates. I like the black color. I like the flock on the back strap. I wanted to keep it very minimal because I wanted to keep it as a hat that I would wear. I wasn't like, okay, what can we sell that the old people who watch the channel like this video the most? I more so wanted to go, okay, would I want to wear? What do I think would look cool at me wearing at the gym or something? And that's what I came up with. I was like, I like wearing dad hats. Y'all have seen me on the live streams. That's the style of hat that I wear. I would like it very minimal. I don't want it to have a bunch of different logos everywhere, a bunch of different words everywhere. I honestly wasn't even going to do the flock word at first, and a lot of people on Patreon told me they wanted it. And I was like, okay, I guess we can put it on the strap. It's not going to take too much away from it. So let me know what y'all are thinking. Derek says no flex fit. No, I definitely like the dad hat. I like the dad hat. That's the style that I rock. I mean, y'all have seen me on the live streams. That's what I like wearing, and I wanted to be able to go through, and I wanted to be able to give it to like, I just want to be able to wear it every day. That's simply it. So let's go through. Jayens is fired. Nitty gritty. Luke, Mike, Spencer, Priceless. She's hot. Yeah. I'm really excited about that. Freddie says, do you own Bitcoin? Yes, my man, but I'm 22 years old, so I do not own that much Bitcoin. If anybody would like to gift me Bitcoin, some Bitcoin, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'll take it. Okay, so Rashad Penny at the 1409. So the thing is, I actually almost considered going with the Tua Tagovailoa over an Alexander Mattison here or Nelson Aguilar. But a big thing is, I mean, I just thought that we were going to see a massive tier drop off after this Alexander Mattison selection at the 1310 at the running back position. Even though Nelson Aguilar was considerably ahead of him in ADP at the receiver spot, I mean, I think that we just needed another running back in there when we are pretty thin on the position so far. We are only going to be drafting 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 receivers, and 2 tight ends as well. Jazzy says, any merch for sale? I would love to represent my G. Thank you, my man. I'll say we sold merch last football season, but a big thing is I did it through like some automated website where it's like some drop shipping website. So we sold it before I was actually able to get the products to me, and I didn't like the quality of them. So a lot of people enjoyed it based on the feedback that I got. But whenever I got it, I looked at it, I was like, hell, I would never wear this. So I went through and I stopped selling them, and I kind of deleted that website going, okay, well, we're not selling this merch anymore. So I think how we're going to do the merch from now on is I'm going to be very selective about it. Like, this has been a long process. Y'all have no idea how many hours I've spent on the phone arguing with these people about these hats, trying to get edits and stuff made. It's been a very long process. Anybody on Patreon that's been on Patreon for a while has known how long these hats are in the making. Because the thing is, I want them physically in my hand, and I want to be able to look at it and go, this is the quality I like. I can stand behind this, and then we can go out there and we can figure out exactly what we're doing with it. So we're not selling any merch right now. It's going to be more so an exclusive thing. It's not going to be me just going out there trying to sell as much merch as I possibly can. I want it to look cool. I want it to be something that I would wear, and I want to be able to get it to the people that I think really are supporting the channel. Okay, so now let's get ready to be back up on the clock. So if we go through, if we look at my draft so far, at quarterback, we have Lamar Jackson. At running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert, Alexander Madison. At receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, Robbie Anderson, Will Fuller, DJ Chark, Bryan Edwards, and Nelson Aguilar. And at tight end, we have both Noah Fant and Mike Gesicki. A very balanced draft. I think that we are actually really excited about it. Now we're only going to be looking at QB, running back, and receiver from here. And honestly, I'm probably going to be looking at just going with a receiver. Actually, no, because if we go with the receiver, we're done at the receiver position. So the thing is, does Christian Kirk give us an edge that we're... Yeah, because running back, who the hell would I go with from here? I don't know who I'd go with from running back. I'm not necessarily dying to bring in Zach Wilson. So yeah, we're just going to get Christian Kirk, actually. We're bringing in Christian Kirk. Now we're done at receiver as well. Now we're only going to be quarterback and running back. So we need to bring in 2 running backs, and we need to bring in 1 quarterback to this team. Evie says, how do you feel about J.K. Dobbins? So with J.K. Dobbins, I mean, I think that this is a running back that in a half PPR format, in a non-PPR format, is slightly more appealing, because the reason that you're not excited about him, besides obviously the Gus Edwards usage, is also the fact that Lamar Jackson's not going to be checking the ball down to the running backs very often. So in a full PPR, not that excited about J.K. Dobbins. If you're playing in a half PPR, if you're playing in a non-PPR league, I think that's where you can almost get more excited, because you're more so betting on the touchdown upside with a Dobbins. Okay, so now with a quarterback, honestly, now that we have some more quarterbacks becoming clear later on in the draft, I don't think we have to go with someone here if we don't want to. Now, we do have Bryan Edwards, so we could technically get the stack in with Derek Carr. It's the same bye week as Lamar Jackson, so I think possibly instead we just go Sam Darnold. Yeah, let's go Darnold. We have Robbie Anderson. It's a different bye week. So we're going to go Sam Darnold as our second quarterback, and then from here we're just going to get 2 running backs to end off this draft. Let me go through and show the draft board off to everybody. Okay, Jay Holly says, I sent an email. How long until I get the draft guide? Guys, I'm going through. If anybody has used promo code FLOCK or anything on Underdog Fantasy, and you've sent me a DM, you've sent me an email or anything, you're getting that draft guide right after this live stream. You're getting the draft guide right after the live stream. I send the draft guides out extremely quick. You don't have to be worrying about that whatsoever. Okay, Zach Wilson at the 1606. I'm sorry, Zach Ertz at the 1606. Then Tevin Coleman at the 1608. Jake T coming out with a donation. Thank you, my dude, saying, I'm in 2 half PPR redraft leagues. I have the second pick in both. Would you take Dalvin in both leagues or take Kamara in one of them? Thanks, man. I mean, my dude, you're talking about someone that has been in so many fantasy leagues before. So I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of wanting to go through and mix up some of your exposures. You're doing this more so on a smaller scale. And I'll say no. I mean, you want to be taking the best player available. You don't want to be handicapping your team. So I know that it's a little scary, and that if you have Dalvin Cook going down, then you're most likely going to lose both leagues. But At the same time, you have to understand mathematically, you're most likely going to lose both leagues regardless. I think we take the highest upside player. I think we take the player that makes the most sense there. Go Dalvin Cook. Maybe instead of at the 2-3 turn, you going with Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown in one draft. Instead, mix it up. And in the other league, go with the DK Metcalf and the CeeDee Lamb. And that's how you can kind of change those teams and get some different exposures. But don't necessarily be just going through and going with an inferior player just because you want to make sure that you're getting just different exposures to different players. Now, I mean, I talk about my exposures all the time, and I make sure that when we're playing in, we're going to get close to probably over 200 drafts, to be completely honest, by the time we get to the season. I know we're going to get over 200 drafts by the time we get to the season. I mean, I definitely have to be careful about my exposures. I mean, we had Travis Etienne in, if you include my dynasty drafts, over 1/5 of my leagues. I mean, I had Travis Etienne in a lot of places and probably had like $700 attached to Travis Etienne, which of course sucks. And we had Cam Akers in almost as many, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And you just kind of have to roll with the punches sometimes. Jackson says, are you in any auction leagues? Yes, we've done some dynasty auction startups before, my dude. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. We have to go back-to-back running back, and Carlos Hyde goes. That sucks. That sucks so bad. That's horrible. Obviously, when we have Barkley and Taylor, we're not at a massive need for running back. But I was really hoping that we were going to get Carlos Hyde coming back to us. I thought Carlos Hyde was kind of the cheat code that we are actually going to have at running back, and that we could kind of get away with punting that last pick and going to Sam Darnold. What we should have done is we should have waited until the 17-10. We should have just gotten Carson Wentz or Teddy Bridgewater. And Darrington Evans goes as well. Let's go back and let's look at the running backs that we passed on for Sam Darnold. We passed on Malcolm Brown. We passed on Tevin Coleman. Yeah, that was a bad call by me. That was a horrendous call. The old rule that we used to have is you had to get a quarterback in the 16th round if you were getting a second. Like, that was the last time you could go through and draft a quarterback that you were excited about. But to be completely honest, that rule has changed now that we have Teddy Bridgewater getting added to the mix. Now that we have Carson Wentz also looking like we know that we can rely on him. So now we're going with players that we don't necessarily like. We're going with anybody that we think can potentially touch the ball any given week. So we're going to go with a Kenneth Gainwell at 17-10. We're probably going to go with a Ty Johnson or Justin Jackson with this next pick. I mean, a Devontae Booker I can't necessarily think about because we have Saquon Barkley and we're already playing under the assumption that Barkley is going to be healthy the entire season. Another running back that we would have considered previously, Quadri Allison. I mean, he's not even on the team anymore. So we butchered this. We butchered this. Jane coming out says, Kareem to the rescue in 9 days until Texas football. I mean, I'm excited for Texas football. I'll say I'll be watching more Texas football this year. I'll make it where it's in my schedule. Okay, we can't take Devontae Booker. Can't take Marlon Mack. Can't take Boston Scott. It's either Salvador Ahmad or Mark Ingram for us here. We're going to take Salvador Ahmad. I just think that there's more upside with the offense, so we're going to go with Ahmad. We butchered the end of the draft. We butchered it. We butchered it. We butchered it. We needed to go with the Carson Wentz later on. We should have understood that we were changing the landscape with Teddy Bridgewater and Carson Wentz looking like they were getting added back into the player pool as draftable guys now. So it's a rule that we learned the hard way, but at least we're going to know it going forward. At least we didn't make this mistake in a $250 draft. Let's go through. Let's show this draft board for anybody just not coming in. John says, yo, could you rank my team, bro, with the 105, Jay Cooper? Yes, sir. I'd be happy to go through and look at that for you. Let's go back up to the top. So the 105 started off with Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, David Montgomery. Montgomery, I will say that I don't like drafting him here because we have seen a lot of drafts him actually fall to the 4th round. I got him in the 5th round in a draft yesterday. So I think there would be a small chance that you would have gotten Montgomery in the 4th. So I don't necessarily want to go out there, and I don't want to be willing to, I don't want to say reach, but be willing to go out there and make that selection on my own. And then after that, we have T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, Kyle Pitts, Damian Harris, Justin Herbert, Marcus Callaway. So I'm trying to figure out, Justin Herbert was a massive value here. I'll say that. Herbert, this is like the latest I probably have ever seen him go. Kyle Pitts, similar here. I think that's a massive value, Kyle Pitts. Callaway, Jacoby Myers, Marquez Callaway. I can't take Marquez Callaway at the 905. I think this is too rich. I think I honestly prefer getting a Curtis Samuel or a Hollywood Brown, even though Obviously, Callaway's been balling out in both the preseason and training camp. Jacoby Myers, Devin Singletary, Phillip Lindsay, Trevor Lawrence, Jamison Crowder, Hunter Henry, Tevin Coleman, Byron Pringle. And then Hunter Renfrow down at the bottom. I do like the amount of roster spots that you spent on. I think that you have a very strong construction. Actually, are we looking at this incorrectly? No, you have 2 quarterbacks. Yeah, I think that's a very strong team with how you constructed it. I think that there are just about 2 picks that I don't love going out there and reaching on. But, okay, I see some people saying do a puppy 3. Guys, I can't necessarily, people are getting mad at me pronouncing Ahmed's name wrong. I apologize. Of course, I am an idiot. I pronounce names wrong incorrectly all the time. I apologize. I will try to do better. But yeah, I can't get another draft going tonight. We got a ton of Patreon podcasts out today, recording a lot of videos, and I have a ton of draft guides to send out right now for anybody using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Now, before we get off, of course, use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Subscribe to the channel. We live stream every single night, real money fantasy football drafts, and get our draft guide, get our rankings, all with promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy with just a $10 deposit. But also, I need to be sending out a free link to our free fantasy football group chat for anybody who has not joined yet whatsoever. I mean, we're about to pass 5,000 members in this free fantasy football group chat. You don't need an email. You don't need a credit card. You don't need anything. You just need to click on the link, choose a nickname on whatever you want people to call you in this fantasy football group chat. I'm not trying to get you to sign up for some mailing list or anything. You're just going to get in a group chat with like 5,000 other people. Okay. Jan says Russell Gage a steal in 9/10. Let me see what receivers Russell Gage was actually going next to. So you went up to 1005. I'll say, yeah, getting Russell Gage 1 pick before Jacoby Myers. I'll agree with you. I love Russell Gage in that range. Okay, so let me send this out, my dudes. Okay, so Eric says, from Vegas, Underdog's not available. How can I get your guide? We also have our draft guide available on Patreon. So definitely just shoot me a DM on Patreon. Tommy says every night except 2 nights ago. My man, we actually went through and we live streamed at like 4 p.m. and we got a draft going then right after. Okay, so sleep. Okay, we're going to go through and we're going to mute this guy. This guy's getting a little annoying right about now. But let's go through and let's send these links out. Thank you, everybody who has gone out and supported us in this live stream. I hope I see y'all in the live stream tomorrow night. And yeah, have a great night, my dudes. Have a great night.